I'll get my car.
What, mine?
Yours. I gotta get me one of those.
Hello, and welcome to this impromptu episode of Batman's Discussions. There was a lot of stuff going on with Cell today, with Cell's ZSJL to Netflix, Cell's Snyderverse to Netflix, and I decided, you know what, let's talk about it today. So I got not one, but two very special guests to talk about it today, and I'm really excited. And before we bring them on, I just want to see who's in the chat real quick. What up, Geek Defensive? Costello's Way, thank you for stopping by. And we got Zack Snyder himself in the chat with under his Sin Havoc burner account. We got Qatar, and we got ZodWriter. How are you, man?
Oh man, it's great to be here, dude. I feel like I was just talking to you.
Well, you did in a way, not just backstage, but on Wednesday.
That's right. That's right.
On your channel.
We were just doing late night Q&A with you, me, and Socks, which was a lot of fun. Hashtag Chicago Connection. What's up, chat? Good to see everybody in here. This should be a great discussion.
Oh, so I specifically asked this person to come on second because I needed to see your live reaction to this. So I don't know if you've seen any of my previous streams with Josh, and you know how sometimes he likes to dress up a little bit.
Oh yeah, he tends to be a bit theatrical at times. I know.
Hiya, Puddins! I think you mean Joshy Quinn. Man, happy Friday. What is going on?
Well, it's been a real dramatic day today with the Cell movement, and I thought today would be a good day to talk about it. And now that we got Joshy
Quinn. That's awesome.
Joshy Quinn, hashtag. We had to set you up, Zod. Me and Bat Dad. We were like, let's surprise Zod on this one. How are you doing, Zod?
I'm good, man. I'm happy to be here as always, man. Anytime I get to stream with Bad Dan, it's always fun. We always have a good time, and and I realized I was telling Bad Dan this. I realized it. I couldn't remember the last time I was actually on a panel with you where we all kind of interacted and talked, in this kind of environment. I mean, I know we've been on streams together. I know that, but it's just nothing of the sort. And so when Bad Dan and I were talking, and then Bad Dan decided to bring me on too, I was like, well, this is awesome. This will be a lot of fun.
You both, I don't know if you remember this. So my first ever stream was Sil Abdul's birthday stream. And you both were on that panel.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Mikey Sutton was there. God
Yeah.
rest his soul. El Necron was there. And there were a few other people, I forget who they were. But yeah, thanks for making this happen, Bat Dan. It's a reunion for me, anyways. And shout
Yeah.
out to y'all for that late night Q&A on ZodWriter's channel. That was really
Oh
fun.
yeah, and I was telling Bad Dan and everyone that we've got a late night Q&A planned for the end of February, so that'll be cool. You'll be able to join me on late night Q&A, and we'll get to talk again. It's always fun collaborating with everybody in this community because we have such a great time, and we're all good friends, and we're all like-minded people, and we all tend to at least can agree on the cell movement and things like that that are important. So I couldn't be happier. It's like a really great group. And you said something today on Sky's Spaces, Bat Dan, that really resonated with me. How you talked about how much Sil Nation means to you, and how you consider everybody to be your friends. And it's all kind of like, to me, it's all kind of like a family atmosphere. It really does have that close-knit kind of like family bond kind of thing. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And and like a family, we all help each other. So I'm actually dedicating a segment for Josh to call for assistance right now.
Yeah, thanks, Bat Dan. So shout out to Bat Dan, ZodWriter. I don't know if you know, but he's been wanting to stream and talk about stuff for a minute, and I've been hard to track down. I've had a lot of stuff going on. I guess this is as good a time as any to tell people who don't know. I know Zod, you know now, because we got a late night stream planned. We were actually going to try to do it next week, but I'm actually going to be having a pretty extensive surgery on January 31st. I'm gonna be MIA for probably about a week. I'll probably be scrolling through my phone, honestly, but I won't be able to talk. I'm having my tonsils removed due to a long problem I've had all my life with surgeries as a kid, having ear, nose, and throat issues. So one surgery that I had back in the day has now caused issues with my tonsils. My tonsils are like failing me, so I gotta get them removed. And unfortunately, the recovery is going to be really bad. But on top of that, as Bat Dan was trying to track me down before my surgery, my Facebook on Monday was disabled, which is basically what happened, as far as I understand it. On January 19th, I posted stories. I didn't have a post. I had stories. So, those things that you can have up to a minute on Facebook or Instagram. It was actually shared on Instagram, but because I have it set to automatically share to my Facebook, it also got shared to Facebook. And what it was clips of Christopher Nolan winning the Golden Globes for Best Director, a clip of Angela Bassett and Jared Leto introducing one of the categories. I think it was Best Female Supporting Actress, and another clip of Jared Leto talking about Golden Globes. And so basically I appealed it on January 19th. Apparently the artificial intelligence, Zod, I know you know a lot about AI. The artificial intelligence, even though I immediately appealed it on the 19th and the story went up and was visible, the morning of Monday, January 22nd, this week, at 8:30, the technology ran again, flagged all the stories that were in my archive. So they weren't posted, right? They were in my archive. So they were gone 24 hours after January 19th. But because they were in my archive, the technology flagged it again. Back to back, there were 3. So immediately it said I was suspended for 180 days from Facebook. So I appealed it. And as soon as I appealed it, I got email notifications that my Facebook was disabled, and also another email saying it was removed. Getting in touch with Meta or Facebook is nearly impossible for anybody who's been through this. And the reason I'm telling y'all this is not just selfishly, this is, oh, help me. Social media locked me out, first world problems, right? But this is it says on there specifically, technology flagged this, right? So this is now an issue of the technology overcompensating and therefore automatically causing me to be locked out of my Facebook.
Yeah, that's the
I
thing.
don't.
AI is gonna. That's AI. That they're not wasting any time deploying AI to replace people because it's cheaper and easier to just have an AI do
Mhm.
it. So we're going to see more of this. And unfortunately, Josh, it's going to get worse before it gets better. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to get any easier. So I would refrain from posting anything that could even be construed as anything such because
Yeah. And
that's
Zod, the
crazy.
funny thing though, it's maybe because it's Elon's platform, but what I was banned for posting on Instagram and Facebook is on Twitter. You can see it, the tweet, like it's up there. It's Angela Bassett and Jared Leto talking about Golden Globes or doing a little bit about Jared Leto's
Well,
just kind of
Elon's
quotes. Look at
tied
it.
into this AI thing and he knows a lot. And so I'm
The
thinking maybe he's not going to deploy AI in for Twitter X
yeah.
in
He's more against it.
the way that they're he's not really I mean, and he's kind of, to be honest, he's kind of sound the alarm about AI a while ago. He did, and it's kind of, so it says a lot. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard the rumors about his AI girlfriend, but
Uh-oh.
What?
I just, I well, yeah, allegedly he has an AI girlfriend, and not only does he have an AI girlfriend, she's not just an AI girlfriend, she's not just like an entity, like a chatbot that you talk to on a computer or on a phone or device, but allegedly she has a physical body. She's got she's like a
God.
like a yeah, and like a physical body, and she has the artificial intelligence. Allegedly he has an AI girlfriend. I don't know if that's true,
Hey,
but
he has enough money.
I've
So
read and heard a lot and then seen a lot of things online about it. And I wonder if it's true. If it is, hey, more power to him. Everybody's got to find love somewhere. But all I'm saying
yeah.
is, AI, this stuff with AI is gonna get worse before it gets better. So what you got to do is you got to use it like the tool that it is and take it easy and keep it, because these people that did that George Carlin special, I don't know if you heard about that, the George Carlin, I'm glad I'm dead, that
No.
it was an AI generated comedy special that basically resurrected George Carlin and did a performance like George Carlin. And now
Oh God.
the people who own George Carlin's estate are suing the artificial intelligence that is a comedy bot that created this, because they say that it's taking away from George Carlin's real body of work, and it's going to steer people away from actually looking into the real George Carlin. But I think it's just the opposite, because after I heard it, I had the desire to go back and actually listen to the real George Carlin.
Right.
So it had the opposite effect on me. I was like, well, because I thought it was really good. I mean, it got his cadence, it got his performance, like the way he talks and the way he would think about things. It was really, really well done. It's actually called George Carlin. And if you haven't seen it, I would try to track it down, because of the lawsuit. I think it's going to get taken down, because it had been on YouTube for free for a couple of weeks. I don't know if it's still up. I know personally I downloaded it and saved it because I want to be able to go back to it and reference it once in a while. But I think, it just says a lot about the way we are societally.
Yeah.
AI should be just used as a tool. It shouldn't be used as, we shouldn't think of it in terms of it's going to conquer humanity. It just has to be used in the right way. It's like somebody compared it to a paintbrush, and I really don't disagree with that, because when painters were painting, when the first person invented a camera and started taking pictures, what did painters say? Oh, that's gonna kill everything. Nobody, paint pictures once that. No, it's gonna destroy art. It's gonna destroy everything. Every new thing that comes out is a threat to something that already exists. Every new technology. So you gotta use AI for what it is. You gotta use it as a tool and use it in the best way possible that you can. And these companies like Facebook, I think that's completely irresponsible for what happened with you, Josh, where they basically are now deploying it to the point where it's overdoing it.
Yes.
And now everybody is going to get thrown in Facebook jail over stupid stuff that they've been doing for decades and nothing happened before. But now because AI is doing it and AI is overprotective, this is what we're going to get. So, yeah,
has this happened to you?
I feel for you, man. No, because I don't post anything that can be considered copywritten. In fact, I went as far as to, I don't know if you know this, but I went as far as to create a theme song for the show that me and APAS do called I Don't Get It. I went as far as to use AI to help me create a theme song for that show. And APAS and I went through all of the takes for the song, and we kind of pieced it together, and we came up with, I wrote the lyrics, and we basically came up with some sort of with one that best suited our show. And that's what I did because I wanted us to have a theme song, but I didn't want to have anything that could be construed as copywritten. So I've gone out of my way to make sure that all the content I do is completely original stuff that I come up with, or that APAS comes up with, or that anybody that I'm working with comes up with, so that we don't run into that problem. I don't care what it is. I don't even want to post a still that is copywritten, because I already know that anything you post, there's something in there, and they've gotten so bad. I got a friend that does, a friend of mine, a YouTuber, PD7 Phil. He does walk and talks. He's a home arcade YouTuber, and he does walk and talks. He goes to like Best Buy, and he goes to different things, and he has to be very careful, because when you go into like Best Buy and you go into these department stores and stuff, they'll have music playing in the background. And you got to be careful how you edit your videos, because if any of the music tracks, you got a Prince song playing in the background, and the Prince song comes up in your video, it doesn't matter if you intend for it to be there or not. You can get hit with a copyright claim, because that's Taylor Swift or Prince or whatever's playing in the background. It doesn't matter. It's ridiculous. And so you got to go in there and you got to be an editor. That's another reason why I hate like actually making videos. So everything that I do, like the stuff that I do with AI, with like the AI voices, it's all meant to be done as funny, as comedy. It's all meant to be done in jest and everything, and parody, and everything that I do, I write it so that it's my writing, it's my storyline, it's my dialogue. I'm not infringing on nothing. And at the end of the day, it's just a parody. It's just a sound alike. It's not meant to be Ben Affleck. It's not meant to be Zack Snyder. It's not meant to be James Gunn. But the thing is that, you with AI, you never know. They might change the laws and all of a sudden make that illegal too, that you can't do that. You can't clone somebody's voice. And then I can't do that anymore. But it's like, we all have to change with the times, we all have to adjust with what's going on. And I just feel for you, man, because I think that Facebook thing is just nuts.
I mean, it doesn't seem like, it's just Josh, first world problems, but it actually does.
No, it impacts a lot of people, that kind of thing. You got to know you're not the only one.
Oh, no.
That's for sure.
I did put the sell hashtag, both of them, on that post as well. It's not because I put that. What it is I think apparently Paramount Global is who flagged it. So if FYI, I think I told you, Bat Dan, Paramount, like YouTubers don't do trailer reactions for a lot of Paramount content. because they're so strict with their AI technology.
Oh, wow.
So that's what happened, is because CBS broadcast the Golden Globes. Paramount technically owns that broadcast. So when it was on my story for only 24 hours, but then in my archive with the sell hashtags, it was flagged as still being a violation of terms of service. So everyone who's a content creator, be careful. This has affected how I communicate with my family. I have a group chat with family members. I have to check up with them. You know, I didn't even realize today. I realized it disabled my threads even, because Instagram Meta owns Threads. I don't use Threads really, so I didn't really care. But my Messenger's gone. My Instagram was gone. I got access to that yesterday again, but my Facebook is gone as of right now, and so I can't use Messenger, Threads. I can use Instagram, but yeah, just if you have any advice on how to contact or appeal this, I think I have until July 20th, right before Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, which I will be at. And I need that to keep in contact with all my Comic-Con friends.
It's kind of hypocritical for Facebook to be like this, considering that they're Meta and they have VR, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know how much stuff you can do in virtual reality. It's not even funny. I mean, come on, man. Oh,
companies are hypocritical. They want money. So what I'm going to kind of wrap this up is that what I want to recommend everyone to do, if you can, in your top profile picture on the top upper corner, hit your profile picture, go to send feedback, and then there should be an option that goes to profile. Write a complaint on Josh's behalf about his Facebook being wrongfully terminated. If Facebook gets enough feedback, not just for Josh, but other people's accounts, they're going to have to do something, because at the end of the day, it's business for Facebook. If they lose customers, they lose money. And Facebook, Meta, doesn't like to lose money. No company does, except maybe Warner Brothers. But
Warner Brothers has made a career out of losing money. They think that's the pathway forward. And then if you ask somebody there later on, it'd be like, oh, well, the movies don't have to make money to be successful. Oh, okay. All right.
I think we have a lot to talk about with that, right?
Oh yeah, we definitely have a lot to talk about with that. So
thanks, Bat Dan. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. I really wanted to help you out because, as we said, we're a family. We help each other out, and this is what I'm asking all you guys to do: help out, give Facebook the feedback, and yeah, we just gotta hope for the best, because this shouldn't be a problem. There's enough problems in the world as it is right now, so I'm hoping for the best for you, Josh, and I mean it. It's this AI thing is BS, and I'm sure when ZodWriter had you on for late night Q&A, I'm sure that they'll have a lot to talk about for that. But really, Zod, thank you for your input on this AI stuff. This was a really good topic. And now I want to kind of get into some of the DC topics right now. So again, guys, I'm just gonna say, help out Josh. Please help him out. And lastly, and now, apparently Jesse Eisenberg hates his Lex Luthor. He told Nicholas Hoult to not watch him. So that could only mean that he hates his own Lex Luthor. That could not possibly mean anything else, right?
I know what it means.
What is?
Oh, really? Do tell.
What it means is, as an actor, if you tell another actor, don't watch my portrayal of this character that you are about to play, the reason he's telling Nicholas Hoult not to watch his performance is because he doesn't want anything to taint Nicholas Hoult's vision for this character. Because what happens is, if you start watching other people performing as a character, unless it's a well-known character like, say, Superman or Batman, of course you've seen other, but if it's somebody that you're playing and you're taking on a new version of a character, you want that version of the character to be fresh, and in your mind you want to be able to bring forth your own designs for the character. So if he watches Jesse Eisenberg's version, it may taint some of the things that maybe he has planned for the character, or things he might want to do, or he might be influenced in some way. So that's why Jesse Eisenberg is giving him that kind of advice. It's not because Jesse Eisenberg hates his version of Lex Luthor, because Jesse Eisenberg straight up on an interview even said that he would gladly come back if he was asked to reprise the role. He would gladly do it. And
Yeah.
he wanted, and
Hopefully he will.
he even wanted, at the time when they asked him around the time we were fighting to get the Snyder Cut released, he said yes, he would love to see the Snyder Cut released because he hears that there's more of his performance in the Snyder Cut. Does that
Not
sound
that
like
much.
a guy? Does that sound like a guy who hates his version of the character? I mean, come on, if you
Nope.
want to see your character, performing, even if it's just a small role, you obviously care about that role, and you want people to enjoy it. So I understand the advice that he gave Nicholas Hoult. I don't think that he meant it in a negative way. I don't think he is slighting his character at all, but that's just my 2 cents. I mean, I've been around people, a lot. I've been around actors before, and I know how they tend to communicate, and this seems to me like something Jesse would say, because every actor who's about to step in the shoes of an iconic character always tries to get at least some semblance of advice from the people that have played the character before, if they're still alive and able to do that. You always have that. I mean, you don't think that David Cornsweet has talked to Henry Cavill?
I'm sure he has.
I'm just putting it out there. I mean, they got the same trainer, for Christ's sake. They're on the same training regimen and everything. I mean,
and they look alike.
I mean, honestly, come on.
Yeah.
And Henry Cavill's a class act.
Mhm.
So Henry Cavill is not going to harbor any negative. He's not going to be like the Smallville cast and be talking out of both sides of his mouth and bad mouthing, other variants of the character. No, he's going to be positive, and he's going to want the kid to do well. So he's going to tell him, he's actually going to give him good advice, just like Jesse Eisenberg did for Nicholas Hoult. So yeah, I think it's all a big nothing burger. So all those people saying that, they're just idiots.
Well, here's the thing, ZodWriter. What you just said was absolutely correct. Like, I'm not even just saying I think. I mean, no. Like, this was clarified in the article that that's exactly what you said. That's exactly what Jesse Eisenberg meant, is that Nicholas Hoult wanted to be his own thing. He didn't want it to be someone else's thing. And yes, Zack Snyder, he would return for you in a heartbeat, because I know Sin Havoc. I know he'll return for you. I'm just saying, how else would you know this?
Yeah. And I think it's important too, like there's a video actually, because I saw people, thanks for bringing this up, Bat Dan, taking this quote and like, see, he's even shitting on, he's like telling Nicholas Hoult, don't even watch me because I'm shitty Lex Luthor. When you see the delivery of what's happening, he's on a couch promoting his movie with Kieran Culkin at the Sundance, that's premiering at Sundance. I don't know if y'all know, Sundance is going on right now. So there's a lot of big movies that are premiering. There's a Christopher Reeves movie that's also premiering. There's a lot of sound bites.
Yeah, from what I hear, it's a beautiful documentary that makes everybody who watches it cry. So
yeah, and it's a very artsy festival, right? Zod, like. So, but what are people going to click on? They're pulling out little quotes from all these interviews and sticking them in articles. So people are reading the articles and like, oh, see, and using it as a dog pile on Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. And it's like, watch the video. Kieran Culkin also agrees. Yeah, when you talk to an actor who's going into your role, you always say, don't watch me. That's just standard like actor thing to say, right? Like, it's just like, that's make your own thing. But then also, really, they do talk. They're like, okay, what did you do? How did you get into the process? There's behind the scenes stuff. So what you're saying, Zod and Bat Den, is all true. So thanks for bringing it up, because I kind of saw people using that to dogpile on Jesse, who Lex Luthor was influenced from his role playing Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network.
That's what it was.
Is kind of connected to what we were just talking about.
It's like taking Zuckerberg and turning him upside down and making him calculating, evil, and disturbing. That's what it was. And I wouldn't be surprised if Nicholas Holt is the other side of the coin. Nicholas Holt is a Elon Musk type, like the exact polar opposite of Zuckerberg. And you have
I could totally see that.
And it would make sense why James Gunn's not on Twitter right now. He's probably preparing that kind of role for his
He needs to get off Twitter permanently.
And he needs to get off social media altogether and just focus on his projects and being the CEO of DC Studios. It makes no sense. I've never seen anything like that ever. Like a studio head being on Twitter arguing with fans, going after people. Give me a break, man. Grow up. You're how much money are you making, dude? Like, for real.
Yeah.
He's probably having AI write his scripts for him, and
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And and just to I want to speak up about the Smallville cast right there. Is that here's the thing: people are allowed to have their own opinions. That is absolutely correct. But here's the difference right now: when you are in your own iteration of Superman, throwing shade at other iterations is a bad look. It comes off as petty. It comes off as bias, and it comes off as like just trying to promote your own stuff while throwing shade at other colleagues and saying that as kind of full of yourself in a way, honestly. Like, it's not the same when fans give their opinion. Like when the Smallville writers were trying to prop up Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum by throwing shade at Henry Cavill, that just made them look bad. Like, of course you think your guys are the best. They're your guys. But how Jesse Eisenberg is acting, that's class. Is that you want other iterations to succeed. You want other iterations to be good. You're not going out of your way to shit on them for no reason. And that's how it should be. And that's why Snyder's cast are class act, while most of the Smallville cast are, well, douchebags.
Scumbags. Yes. Yes. 100%.
And now there's another quote that we had to talk about. So, ZodWriter, we had a really good discussion about the Flash movie on Late Night Q&A about the whole Reeve's family being upset about the Christopher Reeve cameo not being consulted. I guess Josh had something he wanted to say about that.
So I think maybe Zod might know a little bit more than what I do, but somebody, admittedly, I watched the late night Q&A, and I think, like you were saying, Zod, we have a lot that like bonds us, but we all have different opinions, on things. And I think when it comes to the Flash, I know that you weren't really a fan of it, and I know that Bat Dan and I both love it, but Bat Dan does have a big problem with the third act, especially the cameos, right? And so I kind of have always assumed that maybe, I'm not sure, because I saw an interview with of course I saw with the kids interviews, the Christopher Reeves kids that were saying, have you watched the Flash movie? And when I watched the video, they said no. Basically, they were there to talk about the documentary. But then I also saw Nicolas Cage talking about, right, what he did on set for him as his Superman cameo, and then what he saw. And there's a clip going around of him talking about, oh, I didn't do that. I just stood there and saw the destruction of Krypton. But then he later goes on, because basically the interviewer is saying like, oh, well, Tim Burton didn't like that. It was AI. And he's like, no, it's not AI. So Nicolas Cage is saying that it was CGI. But in your opinion, ZodWriter, do you think it does look weird, right? So a lot of people in our community don't like that scene because the CGI or artificial intelligence, some people are claiming. What do you think, Zod? Is it, in your opinion, did they use artificial intelligence to scan Nicolas Cage's body and then make him do stuff that he wasn't doing? Because in his own words in that interview, no, it's not artificial intelligence, but maybe he loves Superman. I don't know if y'all know Nicolas Cage.
I don't think that it's AI that was used. I think it was just CGI that it was used.
Okay.
And they basically they CGI'd him, and then they did what they wanted. And yeah, I saw that he had said that that what he did wasn't what was on the screen, and he was shocked by what he saw. Mm-hmm. And from what I heard, they actually filmed more footage with Nicolas Cage than what they actually used, because they CGI'd and did what they wanted, and they threw in that giant spider. This is why we need to see the 4-hour Muschietti cut of the Flash, because we need to see what was really intended. Because see, this is the problem. I mean, we, on Late Night Q&A, we were talking about Christopher Reeve, what would have been a better, more fitting tribute to him. Why not just show some footage that wasn't used in one of the 4 Superman movies that he used, or just show the Christopher Reeve flyby where he's flying by and he smiles and he flies off. Why not just show something like that? That's iconic. That's something that people would recognize, and you would have probably got a big pop in the theater. But instead, you just get a dumbfounded look on his face. He's looking. It's just him, and I guess there was like a video game version of the Supergirl from the 1980s, Helen Slater, looking at each other, and then they look, and it's like, why did they do that? They could have just as easily just shown footage that was, I mean, I was just baffled by the way, especially because of what they did with the George Reeves stuff. Notice how with the George Reeves Superman, they didn't CGI him. They actually showed, black and white footage from his TV show. So I don't know. I just took issue with the way it was done. I just thought it was really tacky, mainly because I didn't really see the point of it. It didn't really help to me, it really didn't help the flow of the story, and it really didn't do anything. It was just nonsensical. Like I would have expected something a little bit more respectful, iconic, and impactful if you're going to have those iconic versions of the characters. Yeah, the deformed S logo, exactly. If you're gonna have these iconic characters in there, give them an iconic tribute. You didn't need to use CGI. And I think that was my biggest issue with it. This was not needed. This was unnecessary money that was spent. You can't tell me they don't have tons of footage that they could have used. I mean, Christopher Reeve, the original cut of Superman 4 alone by itself is over 3 hours long. The original cut had 3 nuclear men in it. 3 different nuclear men, had a much deeper plot line. I've seen the work print of that cut of the film. It is mind-blowing how different it is in comparison to the Superman 4 that we got.
Bizarro was in that, right? Like there's a Bizarro
There's a Bizarro nuclear man in that.
He's like a bumbling, he doesn't look like Bizarro at all.
He doesn't look like Bizarro, but he's a bumbling Bizarro, and Superman fights him in the movie. Yeah.
Wow.
It's in there.
Thanks for clarifying that, because I'll be honest, I still love the Flash, but I always have kind of started to question the hate for it. But I kind of started thinking after it came out, I was like, I wonder if AI was used at all in this movie. And that's maybe why the industry kind of started, it seemed like there was a lot of within the industry.
The CGI footage in the Speed Force looks to me like they could have used AI, because it was bad. To me, it was just bad. It was just an excuse for bad CGI, but essentially, a lot of it actually looks like, if you actually go and you look at some of the videos, that AI, because AI can generate video now. And when it does generate video, it's better video than what we got in the Flash.
Okay.
I think the AI video that I played for the Man of Steel 2, the trailer I played for Man of Steel 2 had better video in it than the cameos in the Flash movie. I
would agree with you.
And that was AI. And that's AI. So I don't, and to be honest, a lot of these great pictures we're getting now that are AI, these great shots that are being used in a lot of our cell campaigns and stuff, these AI images through Midjourney and other programs like that they look phenomenal. They look great. And see, that's why I'm saying, what's the excuse for allowing Flash to look like that? I don't. And so I think that's really what my main problem is apart from just like storyline elements too that we know we're supposed to be fleshed out better, and we're supposed to be bigger storylines, and also the fact that Michael Keaton's Batman was not supposed to die, and that we were supposed to get more of Ben Affleck, we were supposed to get Henry Cavill. All this stuff was shot, by the way. Okay.
Yeah.
We just didn't get it because James Gunn wanted to have George Clooney in there instead and wanted to end the Flash movie on a joke.
I don't defend that ever.
And see, that to me is unforgivable in this situation. This Flash movie has a lot to like in it. It really does. There's a lot of great stuff. There's a great movie in there somewhere, and that's why I say we need to see what Muschietti's cut is, because I know Muschietti didn't set out to make a divisive film.
Right.
Muschietti set out to make an epic time-traveling movie that's supposed to be as beloved as Back to the Future. That's what he wanted to make. And it doesn't make sense that you get all this divisive stuff these are not issues that we should have with a movie like this. It should almost be like unanimous praise for this movie. There's no reason for any of it. That's where my issue is. I guess my expectations were probably just too high for it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying totally, because I wanted people to love it too.
Yeah.
You know, me and Batman. I think you had issues with the third act, right?
Yeah, so I do love the film. I absolutely do, but I think most of the issues are in the third act, and I think it's just, I mean, because I do feel like the CGI with the cameos I thought were cool, but it would have, I think, just would have been just as easy to just use film footage, and I think that was my issue, and I think some parts were rushed because of Gunn's ransom notes at the end, but I really did love this. I mean, I really overall love the movie. See, I think a lot of people compare it to Justice League. I think a better example, in my opinion, is Studio Squad. Because at least in Studio Squad, the same director films it. There's more to like in the movie. I feel like the criticisms are on that same level, closer to Studio Squad than Justice League. And I think a lot of it's the third act. See, Justice League, the whole movie just sucks. The whole movie is just bad. But like Suicide
just
Squad,
a bad patchwork all the way around. Yeah.
Whereas the Flash has, I think at least for me, most of my issues are in the third act, because I love the first act. I don't even have an issue with the lasso of truth scene, honestly.
But here's the thing though, how do you kill Michael Keaton's Batman, cut out all that great Ben Affleck, cut out Henry Cavill, cut out all this stuff when you have this stuff filmed? How do you do that? Like, that's the part I don't.
Because Gunny Poo did not want any excitement for the DCU. He had to cut out anything. But you
guys still love the movie. That's the point, though. For me, I guess it's because going into the movie, okay, I didn't think they would really do that. All the stuff that we heard about, Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, there's more Sasha Calle, there's Michael Keaton, all the stuff we heard. I didn't really think they would do that. I didn't think they would literally cut all these great characters, cut all this stuff out. That's why the fight between Supergirl and Zod is so clunky in this movie, because they cut so much of that fight out. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's been some stuff that leaked where they actually showed some more of the fight, and it's just brutal and cool.
No.
And the thing of it is that the reason why it just seems so rushed and just haphazard is because of how much of it was actually cut out. And this is where the problem is. The studio does not allow the filmmakers to be filmmakers. Yeah. They just meddle with everything,
Richard Donner,
everything, and they did it to Richard Donner too. And that's another thing. How long did we wait for the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2?
Years, wasn't it?
This is
Oh, yeah.
oh my God.
Decades.
It was a long time. There was a whole website devoted to it and everything. And I remember seeing like the first, seeing like the black and white stills of Christopher Reeve, talking to Marlon Brando's Jor-El, and it was just like, holy crap, like where the hell was this in Superman 2? It's like a night and day kind of a thing. And I'm just like, and I'll never understand the stupidity of this same studio. They butchered Snyder, they butchered Ayer, they butchered Donner, they butchered all these filmmakers, they butchered Muschietti, and it's like, I just hope we get to see his true vision for the Flash someday. And I know he's got to wait in line now because we're still waiting on the Ayer cut. So, yeah.
I agree.
And just before you come, and I think it's a great point. I think with me, my thing is I can still love a movie, but I can still admit that I have problems with the movie. And I think that's kind of where I stand with The Flash, is that, because I really love the first 2 acts. I love Ezra Miller's performance. I mean, my God. People try to tell, if you think that Ezra Miller's performance is a bad performance, then I just don't trust your credibility, or you're too hung up on Grant Gustin, in my opinion. Like, phenomenal performance. And even though I have issues with the third act, one of my favorite scenes is also in the third act when Ezra says goodbye to his mom. That was a heart.
All the scenes with Ezra and his mom were good. All the scenes that you see, but see, that's where you go, where you say, okay, you have the heart of the movie, right? You have what is, and you look at that and you say, okay, that's good in spite of all the BS. Okay. And what I don't understand is this is was supposed to be such a powerful, epic movie to just end it on a joke with George Clooney. And then not only that, the Aquaman scene at the end.
Yeah,
the
that
drunken
was
Aquaman puking in a ditch. How do you leave the theater walking out of the theater thinking, oh my God, that was a great movie? I mean, there's so much that it's almost like what they did was, I kind of take it like this. They raise your hopes up by showing you some good things. They give you some good things. They give you some candy. They give you the good food. You got your nachos and everything. And then they start throwing, liver and rotten cheese in there and mixing it in there. And as you're digging deeper, you're realizing, what the hell am I eating? It's and I feel like it was just like a bait and switch kind of a thing. Like all these things that we heard about. And I think I could have enjoyed the movie more personally if I didn't go in there knowing everything that I knew about what was cut out, what's supposed to be in it, how it's supposed to. I guess I had a difficult time. I couldn't really judge the movie on its own merits, especially when you factor in the way that the movie ended and the way that it leaves you with that just straight up sour taste in your mouth when the last thing you see is Aquaman passing out like a bum drunk. Like, to me, you're not doing yourself any favors. It's like we're coming off of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and this is what we get. This is our epic Flash movie. I mean, I just feel like as DC fans, we deserved better. And I don't think that, I don't think that they did justice to Andy Muschietti, though. And that's why I feel bad for him too, because I think the movie he wanted to give us had potential to be a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And that's my problem.
And it still can be. That's the thing. I still think Netflix will invest once they see the popularity of the Snyderverse. There's more they can invest in. And before we move on to the next topic, I guess, Josh, since I have it in the topic of this the title of the subject, I guess, did you want to clarify anything about the family's reaction? Because I thought you said a little bit more.
Yeah, so I just kind of, in my opinion, maybe there's something like, the reason I wanted to ask you, Zod, is because in my opinion, when I watched, just like the Jesse Eisenberg, I watched the videos, and the delivery and how the kids answered the question, in my opinion, they did not they were not shading the Flash movie. They were asked a question and they were just like, no, we didn't see that. But they continued later on to talk about several questions throughout the film. The film is called Super/Man, the Christopher Reeves something, right? So it's all about Superman. But in my opinion, they didn't really want to talk about like what WB's doing, but they have to still talk about their dad, who's obviously Superman. And later on, one of the sons was asking, they were asking about his legacy as Superman. And he was like, well, my dad was actually more into the dramatic roles, right? He was more proud of,
I forget the movie that they said, but they mentioned one of his movies. Personally, I think Somewhere in Time is one of Christopher Reeve's best films.
Yes.
I think I would actually say, and if I'm being honest, I think that Somewhere in Time is his best work. But that's just me personally.
And I guess that's where because I know, like you're saying with Superman 4, that Christopher Reeves actually wrote, I think.
He was very passionate about Superman 4. He was the one that pitched. Oh, really? He was the one that even pitched the idea of Superman 4.
He got that made.
And here's something else that's going to blow your mind. Richard Donner wanted Christopher Reeve's Superman to be more like the Superman we eventually got in Man of Steel. But the studio didn't go for it. He wanted a more reality grounded, serious based Superman, and he actually praised Zack Snyder. You can look it up and find it, and he actually said that Man of Steel was something that he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So Donner was not, you can't. This is, and I have respect for Donner and Reeve because they took Superman seriously, but the studio makes these decisions. The studio's the one that adds all the dumb stuff and makes it and says, well, no, you have to lighten this up. No, that's too dark. You can't have Zod kill somebody in cold blood. You have to have it done in a comedic way. You have to do this, and this.
Superman laughing smiling as he throws powerless Zod down
the chasm. And this is the thing though. This isn't the director. This isn't the Richard Donner saying that I want to do this. This is the same thing that happened. This is the same thing that happened to Zack Snyder. The studio is overly reactionary about everything, and they lose their minds over the littlest things, and they're stupid. And it shows, because when they brought in Richard Lester, who replaced Richard Donner for Superman 2, the main thing that Richard Lester was known for was comedy. He's a comedic director. He directed The Three Musketeers. He directed The Beatles. I want to say it was Hard Day's Night. And then there was a couple other, everything that Richard Lester was known for was comedy. So that's why Superman 2 had more of was kind of a mixture of tones, because they, similar to Justice League, where you get a little bit of Snyder in there, where it's a little serious, but it gets muddled because you have the stench of Joss Whedon on top of it. And that's basically what Richard Lester did. Richard Lester just basically added in so many more comedic elements, made it a lot funnier, a lot more jokes, a lot more, very, very similar to what we're dealing with now. To be honest, it's the same studio. It's the same mentality. It's incredible when you really think about it. It's almost the exact same situation. So basically, Richard Lester comes in, and the whole reason they brought him in was not really because of Donner's take on Superman, but they did it more because they wanted to save money. They knew they could bring in Lester for cheaper. They didn't want to pay Marlon Brando, which was why Superman 2 had the mother in there instead of Jor-El.
Laura.
And you didn't get to see Jor-El until you didn't get to see Jor-El until the Richard Donner cut, where Jor-El comes back, which is makes so much more sense,
Right.
than what they tried to say. Well, having the mother there, we had the father in the first one, so having the mother in the second one. No, it's just because you didn't want to pay Marlon Brando. Let's call a spade here. It's ridiculous. So that's why, okay, with Superman 2, it's so much more comedy. And then in Superman 3, what did they do? Who's the co-star for Superman 3?
Richard Pryor.
They bring in Richard Pryor, who's a comedian, and Richard Lester, the same director for Superman 2 who replaced Richard Donner, okay, had full creative control for Superman 3. And what was Superman 3? Superman 3 was a straight up comedy, outside of a few scenes that were amazing because of Christopher Reeve, like him fighting himself in the junkyard, which I don't know how that scene made it in Superman.
Flicking of the bar.
I realize we're talking about Smallville dissing other Superman iterations. There's one Smallville actor who really should not be dissing other Superman iterations, given her first role in a Superman franchise, Annette O'Toole. I don't know if she said anything bad about Snyder, so I don't want to throw too much shade at her, but
yeah, Lana Lang.
Yeah. So there's a lot of history. I mean, and that's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's the studio messing with these directors. They did it with Andy Muschietti, and we hope we get the Muschietti cut. And they also did it with David Ayer, so I want to kind of say, for those of you who don't know, I did a whole advice to David Ayer video about what he should do going forward. Don't go after the fans. Stop kissing up the gun. Don't engage all this negativity, and silently embrace Cell. Which, not long after that video premiered, he just happened to like and retweet an old Forbes article about why Cell makes so much sense. So I don't know if he saw my video or not, but it just...
Of course he saw your video. These people watch all of our videos. This is what we have to understand. Social media has changed everything. They're so worried about social media. They're like every other person. They want to know what people are saying about them.
Yeah.
Of course they watch this stuff. Anybody that tells me, oh, they don't watch this stuff, they're too busy, I call BS. Because like it or not, fan streams like this matter. It shows, it's engagement, it's part of the conversation, and it's important because it's essentially it's opinions, but it's essentially kind of like, and I'm not trying to say that we're all like influencers, but essentially they're watching because they want to know. They want to know what the fans are thinking. They want to know what's being said. It's all part of the big tapestry, you know?
And Bat Dan, didn't he quote you on Twitter X?
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I put that quote tweet in the video even. He deleted the quote, mind you, but I did get the screenshot, and I included the screenshot in the video even. And so he obviously somewhat knows me, I guess. I mean...
He knows Bat Dan.
And, I mean, I would like for him to apologize to Osa Fresh, because he still didn't do that yet, but... Well, one thing at a time.
One thing at a time. The scribes remember, right?
Well, I mean, we tried, Bat Dad, and it sure sounded like him, didn't it?
Oh yeah, yep, that AI clip. That
AI David Ayer definitely apologized to Also Fresh.
But I mean, regardless of why he did it, I think this is a very important move because here's the thing with the Ayer cut. This is the one movie in the Snyderverse that we're asking for that is filmed, that has not been released but is filmed. Maybe the Emerald Cut, but that's one scene. But like overall, the Ayer cut is a movie that we have not seen, and in my opinion, is probably one of the first steps to getting the Snyderverse on Netflix. You need the Emerald Cut and the Ayer cut on Netflix. because those are two movies that are filmed. Okay, so like ZSJL 2 and 3 are not filmed. These two movies are filmed and can happen. And I think the Ayer cut, because that entire movie has not been seen aside from some of the scenes that made it into Studio Squad. So the fact that David Ayer is acknowledging it now shows that he is finally on the right track, that he says, okay, this is what we need to do to get my cut out. Because as Leon says, Snyderverse on Netflix includes everything. It includes the Ayer cut, Man of Steel 2, the Batflick movie. And David Ayer gets it now. And I think, to me, that is really huge. That is really huge that probably the only other director who's filmed a project in the Snyderverse, and I'm saying the Snyderverse, not the DCEU, the Snyderverse, which, as ZodWriter says, consists of Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. The Ayer cut, since WB disregards that, can also be included in the Snyderverse IP, in my opinion, anyways. So that is why that's a big deal.
Batman v Superman is the Ultimate Edition, not the theatrical cut. The theatrical cut is considered DCEU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, ZodWriter, I don't think you said this on my channel yet. So could you explain the difference between the Snyderverse and the DCEU?
Yeah, the DCEU is literally everything released in the DC catalog outside of Zack Snyder's Justice League, Man of Steel, and Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. Man of Steel is the only movie that plays double duty because it was meant to launch the DCEU. But if you notice, all the rest of the DCEU movies are all bundled together as an IP. You can go buy a box set that has all the DCEU movies. But guess what movies you're not going to find in that DCEU box set? You're not going to find Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition, and you're not going to find Zack Snyder's Justice League. Because to DCEU, Justice League is canon. Batman v Superman theatrical cut is canon. And then all the rest of the DC EU movies. I even think there was a bundle where they did, when Black Adam hit video, they did a Man of Steel and Black Adam box set, which I thought was really weird. I mean, because Henry Cavill is literally in the Black Adam for 3 seconds. It was so funny to me. Like, wow, you actually have the nerve to bundle those two movies together.
Well, you know why I think that happens, ZodWriter? Because I think what happens, those bundles were made and shipped out under a different regime's plan. I think at the time those bundles were made, I think it was under DeLuca, who was all in on Henry Cavill's return, and I think they were trying to, in advance, hype up that Black Adam v Superman movie. The problem is now they changed the plans, and those bundles were already coming out, so they couldn't do anything.
Yeah, those bundles went nowhere. Those bundles were ridiculous. That was one of the worst. That was one of the worst releases in home video history, because you're talking about them not, talk about not believing in something or not promoting something. I mean, it's just so, I mean, this studio is just so shady. It's actually creepy the way that they function. I mean, you could almost make a horror movie about Warner Brothers and it would make billions of dollars. I mean, it's such a terrible, terrible studio. They're all crooked scumbags. They're all just none of it is on the up and up. It's all lies and BS and underhanded, just the worst studio ever.
Yep, I agree. And I want to kind of ask you this, ZodWriter, too. So let's say that Netflix got the rights to ZSJL 2 and 3. They have the rights. WBD gave them the rights. What movies would they be allowed to directly reference?
They would be able to reference Zack Snyder's Justice League trilogy, which consists of Man of Steel, Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition, and Zack Snyder's Justice League.
what about Wonder Woman or The Flash or Black Adam? Could they
All of
reference?
that would be considered DCEU.
So they would not. So you're saying that if they get when they get this license, they will not be allowed to like treat those movies as canon then.
From everything that I've been able to discern, those 3 movies that are called Zack Snyder's Justice League trilogy are considered to be their own IP. It's a separate thing. That's why Zack Snyder's name is on it, to make it any more clear. The reason why it's called Zack Snyder's Justice League is to clearly differentiate it from the DCEU thing. And Zack Snyder himself even came out and said that his version is not considered canon to the studio. It's its own thing. And therefore, those 3 movies, when they're bundled because of that licensing, they're bundled together. That's the reason why you'll never see those 3 movies bundled in a DCEU box set. Because if you bundle those 3 movies with the DCEU box set, you're acknowledging those movies. There you go. Why are
only Zack Snyder movies?
Why are those movies? Yeah, why are those movies marketed like that? Because it's considered its own IP. They just put out not too long ago a DCEU box set. Why does that DCEU box set not contain those 3 movies? They own it. They could throw it in there, right? Wrong. It's considered a separate IP. They can't.
And this actually perfectly segues us to our next topic. So I want to continue this very soon, but anything you guys want to add about, I guess, Josh, what are your thoughts on David Ayer acknowledging the Cell movement?
Well, Bat Dan, I want to thank you because I actually got to see the Snyder cut, or I guess the Bat Dan cut of that advice before it went out.
Oh, yeah. You too, ZodWriter.
Yes.
And I was just so impressed, buddy, with what, how you articulated yourself, because, you were coming off. I think we are so passionate as a fan base, right? We obviously wanted David to jump onto this movement sooner rather than later, because we see the clock is ticking, right? We see what's going on, right? We need to get this thing going on Netflix now, right? And so we wanted David Ayer to jump on board, but David's going to do what he's going to do. And playing the politics of the studio that you were just talking about, Zod, and all the betrayal and all the backstabbing that has continued in the 100 years. I went to the WB lot. When I went to Full Circle, I made an LA trip out of it. And I went, and they were celebrating their 100th year last year, 2023. Yeah. And to see how the patterns of abuse have continued with iconic filmmakers, with iconic IPs, particularly DC, is very discouraging and disheartening, Zod. So when you put it like that, and put that into perspective as a big picture, I get what you're saying a lot, and how, like the Flash, I'm understanding a lot more. So I thank you for clarifying that. But Bad Dan,
it's not just outright hate. It's just the way that the studio handled it that made it a bad experience. Like, what are you doing?
Right. And David Ayer got caught up in the politics, I think, and obviously started taking the blows and being told false lies and false narratives and moving trending events. And, so it discouraged the fan base and the movement for #release. And Bat Dan, you really broke it down in that video so well, and you did it in a respectful way. And having considered that David Ayer did quote tweet you, you don't just quote tweet anybody. When you're a director in Hollywood, I think you gotta know, you know how this culture works, how the society works. You can get canceled like that. So you quote tweet the wrong person. I'm sorry, you're gonna vet yourself. And maybe he didn't. But when he quote tweeted you, he didn't vet you, and so he deleted it. And then he's like, okay, now let me see who he is, and then ultimately ended up sharing the Forbes articles from last year that, Skywalker and Leon got off the ground, and the Cool Table and Syndicate Network and Soul Nation. So shout out to you, Bat Dan, for doing that. I don't know if they're linked, but they have to, there's just no such thing as coincidences. Shout out to David Ayer. I understand probably the hesitancy to jump on a movement, even though he hasn't tweeted the hashtags. He basically liked and reposted the Forbes article, because he's done at WB, in my opinion, just like Skywalker said, and what we all think, I believe. He's done doing hashtag release. It's ready to he's ready to hashtag sell ZSJL to Netflix first, and then hashtag sell Snyderverse to Netflix, because the Ayer cut is part of the Snyderverse. So congratulations, David Ayer, for seeing the light. Thank you for Bat Dan for doing that video, and thank you to Zod for reminding us of the history of the studio, because we're not going back there to restore anything. We're going over here where we're treated really nice with Rebel Moon and Zack Snyder. So
yeah, exactly. I guess ZodWriter, before we move on, is there anything you want to add?
No, I just say, better late than never for David Ayer. I'm glad I'm in the same boat. I'm glad he finally understands. I mean, for how long have we been trying to tell David Ayer, the gun is not your buddy, okay? He's not your friend. He's not going to help you. He's not there for you, all right? He is there for himself. The only person he cares about is himself, and that is a fact that David Ayer now knows. So there you go.
And now that he's embraced it, he's the other director in the Snyderverse to embrace Cell, and silently embrace it. So I think this is a really good sign. And the fact that another person of interest just proves that Cell is the right direction. And ZodWriter, the reason I kind of cut you off when you were getting more into the whole difference between the DCEU and the Snyderverse was because I realized midway I had a better topic to really discuss this, and I just didn't even click with me until now. So I kind of wanted to resume it in this topic right here, is that Zack Snyder said if Netflix owned the rights, the thing is, as you said, ZodWriter, Netflix would only need to own the rights to those 3 movies and nothing else.
Exactly.
So you say this in a way, this makes it a lot easier for Netflix to get the rights to the DC or to the Snyderverse, because they don't have to get the rights to 20 or I don't know, like 15, 12 movies. I can't even count all that right now. Just 3.
That's right. That's the whole point. Just those 3 films. That's the reason why Zack Snyder's name is on that box set. Zack Snyder's name is on Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's to differentiate, and for real, yeah, you're exactly right. They'll go, and Netflix will be able to reference those 3 films. And the great thing is, all we really want is Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, and if we get anything else, it's all bonus material.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I still go back and forth with the Batfleck movie only because of that one scene between Lex Luthor and Deathstroke at the end. But I know that with Cell, we can't be as picky as we were with Restore about how much we get. So Aircon I'm still putting on there because that one's filmed. That one's filmed. I'm not really entertaining that one as much. Not getting, but you're right. The main thing is ZSJL 2 and 3. And since the Ayer cut is not part of the DCU either, if Netflix gets the right to that, they could just put that under their Snyderverse label. So Zack Snyder said in an interview that if Netflix owned the rights to his universe, as in those 3 movies, he would continue. I guess, Josh, what do you think of that?
I mean, this is it surprises me, Bat Dan. I talked about this on Skywalker Space, like the reaction when Sky started and Austin, shout out to the good Austin, who and several other people shared, and David Ayer himself shared the Forbes article from January 12th, 2023, how this year they acted like, wait, what? The Cell can happen, blah, blah, blah. And I started seeing a lot of people on that trending day that we had start jumping on board with our hashtags. But there was a lot of people acting like, oh, that were anti this movement. All of a sudden, like, oh, look, when Skywalker and Leon and Sil Abdul and myself witnessed in person Zack Snyder say this already. So I don't understand why people are now all of a sudden with like this interview or this year in 2024 Like, this is not new. This is not new. This is what this movement has been galvanized and why we've continued, right? So it's so funny that this, like, the reaction, I know people were trying to say, oh, he's so bored because he's been asked this question and he doesn't want to do it. No, he wants to do it. He's bored because he's been saying that hashtag sell is the way. He's not going to go back to a company that literally used him, right, to get their content for HBO Max and prop up their entire streaming service. They literally used this man, his family, his resources. He didn't get paid to do this. He did it out of his own heart, hard work, and tragedy that he had to come over for his entire family. And they didn't give a shit about him afterwards, right? They didn't call him. They didn't tell him how it did. Okay, thanks, bye. And treated him like shit. And went on to the Monday after it was released and tried to sabotage this. So why is he saying these words? If Netflix owned the rights, because he's being treated damn good at Netflix. I just picked this up today. Still got the tag on it. That's what I was doing before the stream, Bat Dan. But Rebel Moon is showing that this experience with Army of the Dead, and even Army of Thieves. He didn't direct that, but he's a producer, obviously, and he was involved in that. There's more spinoffs for this world. Like, Zack is not going to WB. He's not going back to WB. He's on Netflix. So get the fucking shit worked out so we can get the art with integrity. Because what Zod and we've been talking about on this panel, if he goes back and tries to restore something, look, David Ayer knows what's going to be up. He's going to have false promises, and he's just going to be a lackey, and he's going to get bent over and used for all the wrong reasons, right? So shout out to Zack for standing his ground, and of course, not turning his back on us. If I were a filmmaker and all the shit that I went through, and how I was treated and how that studio used a personal tragedy that was devastating and lied to the public, right? About the circumstances of what really happened, that is just toxic. That is some bullshit. And that gets me pissed off, right? So shout out to Zack for continuing to stand his ground, but then also saying what needs to be said. Yeah, I want to do more, but on Netflix. So keep being rebel. That's all I got to say.
Well said, Josh. Well said. I guess ZodWriter, what do you want to say to that?
I think I agree with everything Josh just said. I mean, it's just one of those things. We've known this is a fact, and everybody wanted to believe that fake writer Boris Kitt, who was throwing in his own agendas, his agenda was basically to make it look like Snyder was done doing anything DC related. His agenda was, and it worked for a lot of people. I mean, all the haters and all the people that don't like us, that don't like Zack, that wanted to be over, were just swarming all over it like it was the greatest thing in the world. And even people that are fans of Zack and know how Zack operates and know for a fact that Zack didn't say anywhere in that article that he was done.
Nope.
I don't understand, and this is something that's really been bothering me, guys, with regards to this. How you can be a fan of Zack Snyder and have followed Zack Snyder this entire time and believe that article is basically just pretty much confirming or inferring that he's retired from DC and he doesn't want to continue his work. No artist worth their salt wants to leave something like that unfinished. It's got to be eating Zack Snyder up every day to have left Zack Snyder's Justice League out on a cliffhanger with Darkseid like that. Come on. How do you do something that epic and not get to finish it? I tell this to people all the time. It's like ending Star Wars after The Empire Strikes Back.
All right.
You're like, it's on a cliffhanger. You've ended it on a cliffhanger. Return of the Jedi doesn't happen. You don't get a conclusion to the story, and you're just left hanging. And what does the studio do? They say, "Oh, we're just gonna reboot. We're just gonna reboot the whole thing, start all over again." What? Why aren't you giving us the conclusion? What are you talking about? And here's a fun fact, guys. Mark Hamill was in a really, really, really bad accident in between Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. He was horribly injured. That's why he looks so different between the first and second movie. And the thing is, I thought about this. What would have happened had, God forbid, Mark Hamill was fatally injured in that accident and couldn't come back for Return of the Jedi? What would they have done? Would they have recast Luke Skywalker, or would they have had him die off in The Empire Strikes Back and then just never made it? Or maybe they would have left it like that with Empire Strikes Back and just never made another movie. You see, these are the things, and I started to think about it like that, like, wow, this is the equivalent. DC is so epic, under Zack Snyder, the movies that Zack gave us. Zack Snyder's Justice League was such an epic movie. It is literally the equivalent of ending Star Wars after The Empire Strikes Back. And when I put it into that context, you better believe this man is going to come back and work on it if Netflix gets the rights. It's not even a question, because he wants to finish it. It's at the top of his bucket list. He wants this done. This is going to be a black hole in his career if he's not able to finish it. And I know he won't say that because he's just thankful that Zack Snyder's Justice League was able to get finished. But he really does want to finish the story. We know this. We know this from his own words. We know this from what he said. So all the people that claim to be fans that go out there and say things like, "Oh, well, yeah, he's done." There's still a bunch of idiots on social media saying he's done. "Oh, he's not coming back." There's still people saying that to this day, even after we got literal video evidence. So I don't, I've gotten to the point where I just expect these things, and we continue to have, peaks and valleys throughout our movement, and we just kind of just go along, and we just, okay. People can say what they want. It doesn't matter, because we know the truth, because we've been following Zack. We've been paying attention to Zack. Just like people trying to say that it's, oh, it's never going to happen. They're never going to do that. But yet it's been outlined numerous times, ways that it can legitimately happen. And it's been done before, because Netflix has been licensing other IPs all this time. So it's ridiculous.
Exactly. And the thing is, at the end of the day, it's not going to happen unless Zack wants to do it. But Zack Snyder is on video multiple times, very recently, mentioning Netflix, saying he wants to do it. And Skywalker brought up a really good point. At first on video, he just said third party. But now Zack Snyder is directly saying Netflix in an interview that, let's be honest, Netflix probably had to approve some of these questions. And I think this is a point that I think I brought up in that chat. Netflix had to approve these questions. Why would Netflix approve questions to something they don't want to do? Well, they've expressed interest in it too, and we'll talk a little bit about this in our next topic, actually. But yes, Zack Snyder wants to do it. He wants to finish his story, and this is what people need to remember. It's one more production, because he would do, and I'm just going to go with the movie format for now. Could it be a TV series or whatever? Yeah, but for now, I'm just going to treat it like 2 movies as planned. The thing is, it's one production, because he would film the 2 movies together. He would film them back to back. So it'd be one last production with this happening. So yeah, absolutely he's interested. And and to bring up since you brought up the Mark Hamill thing, would Zack recast if he had to? Absolutely. Does Zack want to recast? Absolutely not. And the thing is, what people need to remember, the cast has loyalty towards Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder commands loyalty that no other cast member does. And here's the thing, right or wrong, whatever you feel about it, Zack Snyder has been quoted. I want to make sure to emphasize this part. Quoted in these articles as saying that he would work with Amber Heard again, and that he's been praising Ezra Miller and has shown support for Ezra Miller. So the two most controversial actors, Zack Snyder has called out and shown support for. So if Zack's going to get those two back, it's safe to say that he's not going to recast. The only recasting I think may happen is Jason Momoa, only because it seems like there's some rivalry between him and Amber Heard. And, I don't want to get too far into that. I'm just speaking about facts and how this could affect the cast coming back. Whether right or wrong, that's not a conversation I want to get into. But going off that may be an issue. But Zack Snyder, again, commands loyalty. So maybe he could put it to the side, or Zack could make it that they just don't have scenes together because Nightmare Timeline, Aquaman's dead. So,
yep, true.
At the end of the day, Zack Snyder says that he wants to come back, and he does. And the thing is, as Leon says, the only ask is, well, two asks are Zachary Edward Snyder and live action. And that mainly applies, though, to the sequels. That doesn't necessarily mean Man of Steel 2. That doesn't mean the Batfleck movie. Those could be other directors. And I have a hot take that's going to get a lot of pitchforks at me.
Uh-oh.
I kind of like the idea of another director other than Zack Snyder doing Man of Steel 2. I want Zack Snyder to do his story, absolutely. But I'm interested in seeing another director take a crack at it, just because I like different flavors, right? I like different flavors. If we were to get the Snyderverse uninterfered with, I wouldn't want Zack Snyder to direct every movie. I like that Zack Snyder didn't direct Army of Thieves. I like that he's not going to direct all these Rebel Moon spinoffs, because I like seeing different directors get their take, as long as Zack Snyder directs the main story. So, and yeah, that's a good point, Costello. So, the fact is that Zack Snyder has said he would do it, and in another Rebel Moon interview with him and Deborah Snyder, said he would do it. This is a good sign, people, that Zack Snyder is interested in it. And
yep.
clarify that comment to me, Costello's way. What do you mean by why not David Ayer?
I think he's saying direct Man of Steel 2.
Oh.
I mean, maybe. I don't know if that's something David would want to do, but hey, Zack likes working.
David Ayer said no DC again, or no more DC for him, so we'll see, but I'd be open to it. And I'm sorry, Josh, I kind of cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, what you were saying.
And here's the thing. Netflix himself has shown support for Zack Snyder. They have said that the more Zack, the better. By Scott Stuber has said this. But now he is leaving. And, and if you're watching this right now, good Austin, I owe you a huge apology for... I may have had a knee-jerk reaction and texted him instead of Twittered him, because I was so worried at first. I will admit I did that, and I'm really sorry about that. So I'm calmed down about that now, though. So thank you again, good Austin, for, giving some perspective and some positive perspective. And obviously, an initial reaction is not the same as when you've had time to think about it. And that's what it was with me. But as I brought up in the last point, that interview Zack had, those questions had to be approved. And as Sil Abdul says, licensing is not Scott Stuber's job. It's people above him, people in different departments. So Scott Stuber could not have said that without approval from other departments. So I kind of jumped through this very quickly, but we'll go in a different order now. ZodWriter, what do you have to say to that?
Yeah, initially I kind of thought that it might be a little bit of a negative thing, but now I kind of realize that it's not. It was probably something that was set in motion for a while, and he's a talented guy. He's going to go off and create his own studio. So, I don't I don't think it really is really going to impact anything as far as Snyder's relationship with Netflix or any plans that Netflix would have going forward to work with Snyder with Rebel Moon or any of the other projects or DC projects that may or may not come to Netflix. I don't think I don't think this is going to have any impact on it whatsoever, to be honest, at this point.
Well said, ZodWriter. Well said. What about you, Josh?
Yeah, no, I mean, okay. I had some people, kind of reach out and the same thing when the news dropped, and it was like, oh my God. I think it was Wednesday or something. And I'm the type of person, having been through hashtag release and all that, and the ups and downs. Being a Snyder fan, y'all both know how there's we are such emotional and passionate people that now the Hollywood trades know that about us. Well, I think that they just people on Twitter in general, but specifically Snyder fans, they know how to make headlines to get us to get triggered and engage with something. Unfortunately, they have figured us out, right? And unfortunately, we fall for it. But with this, I honestly, the way it was kind of spun, the headlines, I was just like, oh my God, really? So I checked it. I kind of stepped back with anything as a Snyder fan going through this before. I was like, hold on, let's get more information. Let's read the article and let's see. And so I went to Scott Stuber's Wikipedia. The first stream that I just referred to at the beginning of this stream, Bat Dan, that you and Zod and I were, when I unveiled myself on Still Abdul's birthday stream, Bat Dan, I had told you that it was actually a flash video. I was wrong. It was the first stream ever where I had mentioned Scott Stuber. It was on Still Abdul's birthday stream, because around that time, which was May, I think it was late May or mid-May of Still Abdul's birthday stream, a few months prior to Full Circle, Zack had talked about being literally full circle with Scott Stuber, because when he first started out doing Dawn of the Dead, that was with Universal. Scott Stuber was an executive there at Universal.
Oh.
And yeah. And so he talked, I remember watching an interview and I was like, oh, okay, I'm starting to see, so I mentioned that on the first ever YouTube stream with Still Nation that has graciously welcomed me, and I continuing with you guys to this day. And I looked at his Wikipedia page and looked at his career and the track. He's been with Netflix since 2017. And I actually sent it to the cool table, and I was like, this is my opinion. I don't know how y'all feel about it, and just gave my 2 cents, because I was just like, look, he's literally got himself. He was in 2023, January, beginning of this year, when the Forbes article and all that dropped, he moved to the chairman of films, like CEO, chairman. I forget what the title was. Literally, he got up there, like to the head of film division. And all through this year, took care of Zack Snyder and was really embracing this fan base, and literally quoted and talking about this fan base in particular, a certain segment. Scott Stuber and Netflix know what the situation is. They know how, after the uncertainty of Restore, what was going on, how there was a little bit of division, right? But this movement came out and gave us hope as Snyder fans, and literally took a different approach and a different avenue that honestly, like, people have said this, like Peely, like, this is history, y'all. This is real. Like, we are all a part of something. We didn't create it, right? Skywalker the Jedi did. But we are part of something that is going to go down in history books one way or another.
Yep.
This has been acknowledged by a multi-billion-dollar company, right? We already have won, in a sense. We are literally helping corporations, get something done for us. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be worked out. There's a lot of things that need to be moved. There's mergers, there's buyouts, there's another universe trying to get popped up over there, which I don't really think is going to really happen by the time it goes up for sale really soon. In the first quarter is what I understand, that it's going to be put up for sale pretty soon. So we really, when we step back and we see Scott Stuber got to the very head, top of his track, And then he's like, you know what? Now I'm going to do my own thing and my own studio. So that doesn't mean that Scott Stuber was our only friend at Netflix. There's a picture, I'll send it to both of you, of the Rebel Moon premiere and every single Netflix division executive around him with the scribes in the background. You know who's there? Scott Stuber's there. The replacement, I forget his name, that quoted how says
that was a
that
female replacement.
What's that?
That was a female replacement.
So she's the one in charge of licensing. Bella is who you're talking about, probably.
Okay.
There's a guy who's the temporary replacement who came out. Sil talked about how people were trying to take his words and twist them. He was saying nothing's changing. With Scott Stuber leaving, we are still going to do original and licensed content. That's what he was saying. But people were trying to take the quotes and they're not going to license ZSJL. Y'all lose.
Of course. Yeah, of course they're going to do the sky. Sky is falling because they want to get at us. They want to murk the narrative. That's what they always want to do. It's ridiculous that their playbook never changes.
Yep. And so
no.
For me, when I looked at the facts for this situation with Scott Stuber, look at this picture and look at all these executives and all the divisions that are surrounding Zack. Zack is being taken care of at Netflix. That is the point.
Zack is literally in movie heaven right now.
Yes,
for real.
He is. So this is not the end of the road, the end of the line. I know we had a lot of people in this community, we have like certain shock titles and YouTube videos to kind of get you, okay, what's this about? But then when you start breaking it down and looking at the facts, baby, the rebellion is here and it's not going anywhere. ZodWriter, when we first streamed, I had mentioned how I love this community because this community is full of people that are like Zack. Very much. Going against the grain, thinking outside the box and breaking the wheel and doing something innovative. Sky did that with this hashtag.
That's how you have to be you realize that's how you have to be just being a Zack Snyder fan. You have to have all of the qualities you just mentioned because the amount of, people that are just so satisfied with anything, it's crazy to me.
But shout out to you guys for literally, we have to, we try to put it to the people that are more so less the leaders of this movement and see what they think, see if it's okay. Does this bad for us or good for us? And of course they come out and they're like, no, this changes nothing. This changes nothing. Weird.
Changes nothing.
Not at all.
Continuing to rebel.
I mean, I think Sil brought up a good point that we're so used to WBD that because of how divided that company is, that one person leaving makes a difference. Like with WBD, when
automatically there's going to be a James Gunn-like person taking over. Like the mentality is automatically there's a James Gunn waiting in the wings to replace Scott Stuber and screw us all over. I know it's just like a reflex kind of a thought. Like, wow, what is this? Because we're so used to getting screwed. That's what it is. That's the truth.
And that's why I had my knee-jerk reaction, is that I'm so used to the WBD. But the thing is, again, all of Netflix, not just half of Netflix, like with Warner Brothers, all of Netflix loves Zack Snyder. And here's something else I kind of want to bring up. This may seem very insignificant, but let me hold on. Let me just try this. I'm not very good at sharing my screen, so let me.
Netflix knows what's up. They
let
know.
Me know. What are you seeing right now? Are you seeing a Netflix screenshot?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, PSA that this scene exists and Netflix, and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is now on Netflix.
Yeah.
And we got the infamous Martha scene that I really love, that I do not think they stopped fighting because their moms had the same name. I think that's a common misconception, and only, let's just say, because I'm a content creator, I'm trying to use nicer words right now than I did before I was a content creator, but it's not that hard to get that Batman stopped fighting him because he was trying to save his mom. But the fact is, this scene is so controversial.
He saw the humanity in Superman. He saw the humanity in Superman that he didn't see in himself, that was so moving and powerful to him. That's what the Martha scene is all about. For and for people not to get that, it's like, how dumb do you have to be not to get that? It's not, you don't have to be,
not me.
You don't have to be Einstein to understand the Martha scene. It's just because they're blinded by their Snyder hate. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the Martha scene itself. The Martha scene itself is better than every single scene in Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3 and anything that James Gunn has ever put out. So if you're going to tell me there's more depth in that Martha scene than anything James Gunn has ever written or directed, give me a break.
Agreed, Zod.
100%. 100% agreed. But this is why I wanted to bring it up, though. I think this is a really big deal. It may not seem like a big deal, but it is.
It's a big deal. It's definitely a big deal.
The fact that Netflix is embracing that very scene that so many people like shows how in they are with Snyder. Is that the fact that out of all the scenes they could have used from either Man of Steel or Batman v Superman, this was the one they decided to use, showing that they are all in on Zack, and at least in my opinion, even through the moments that people love to shit on. And here's the thing: when Netflix is putting that scene out there, they know they're going to get stupid comments in the chat. They know that. They're not. They read social media. They're going to have these people make all these unoriginal jokes, and people who clearly did not understand the movie and were just looking to hate it. And I'll tell you this right now: I wouldn't have even thought that that's why they stopped fighting if it wasn't for the internet saying that. That never even clicked to me that that's why they stopped fighting, by the way. But anyways, I digress because I actually paid attention to the movie and wasn't looking to hate it. But the fact that Netflix is so confident in Zack Snyder that they're showing that scene right there shows that they love Zack and that they're supportive of him for everything. Like, I guess, Josh, what do you think about Netflix showing this particular scene of all the scenes?
I think, like, just my 2 cents, like, of course, when I watch BVS, I'm a comic book fan, right? So I have known, like, I joke with my friends, like, they kind of know, like, anytime there's like comic book news or articles or stuff, they always send it to me, and they're like, hey, and I'm like, I've known about this for like so long, like it's old news, and I know more about these comic book characters' family trees than my own family trees. I'm very sad to say. So knowing the names of Superman's and Batman's parents, biological parents, is not something any Joe usually knows. Like usually they don't know. But
adopted parents.
I knew that, right?
Martha's.
Right. And Martha. And so when I saw the scene, I kid you not, I was like, BVS blew me away. And I was like, holy like, I didn't even, and Zack was so deliberate in how he's told the story, right? In that prologue scene where we see the nightmare / origin of Batman, and then we see later on the nightmare with Bruce going into I think it's like what do you call that, the grave, basically, where his mother's name is. You see him show the name Martha. He's telling us what is about to happen. He's teeing it up. He's showing, not telling us. So when it happened, I was like blown away. I was like, they do, wow. And like you're saying, Zod, and you're breaking it down, that moment, he's looking at somebody who he villainized and saw as other and saw as alien and saw as something that was a threat and evil and needed to be destroyed because there was a 1% chance. He wasn't going to give him 99% chances, right? And in that moment when he saw compassion and care and sadness and fear in the eyes of this alien, he saw something being more human than him himself, who was human. Batman, there's something on TikTok and there's Instagram reels where they basically break it down, but basically Batman became Joe Chill in that moment. He was about to rob Kal-El, Clark Joseph Kent, of his own family.
Exactly.
So
it's
not that hard to figure out.
No.
And the people need to realize that Martha was a trigger word for Batman. That's why he reacted the way he did. He thought Superman was messing with him. I got that when I watched the movie the first time. I'm like, oh my God, he thinks Superman is messing with him. And then when he found out why Superman was fighting him, that's what made Batman snap. And Netflix, again, just highlighting that scene of all scenes just shows how I guess, Josh, what do you think about like Netflix deciding to show that scene of all scenes? Do you?
That's Netflix showing that they are all in with this dude. Like, they know it's gonna cause engagement. They know it's gonna cause clicks. They know they're gonna get haters in their mentions, and they don't give up because they have Zachary Edward Snyder. They have an original IP that there are commercials directed by the director's son coming out and continuing to get all this merch. Like, I've literally, guys, never seen so much merch for a Netflix, like types of different merch, right?
Right. For a Netflix IP. Right. It's insane.
Bluetooth speakers and popcorn and
cereal.
Like all kinds of stuff. Like, they are all in. Netflix is telling the haters, hey, all hail Zack Snyder. And I love it. I love it.
Exactly. Sticking it to the haters. I guess, ZodWriter, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. I mean, they literally chose the most divisive aspect of BVS that they could have chose, and that is, again, like Josh says, it is a signal to us that Netflix is all in, and there is no reason why we should fear or worry about any of it. We should simply let Netflix do their thing. They've heard the message. They know what we want. And if it's in their power to give it to us, they will. That's what that signifies to me, because you don't just put that out and celebrate the most divisive scene of Zack Snyder's filmography,
right,
unless you are trying to make a statement. And they are making a statement the same way Zack has made a statement several times. So, yeah.
And hopefully they can just get the Snyderverse version of that movie out soon. Hopefully they can get the rights to that. So fingers crossed for that.
Oh, they want to. Isn't it exclusive right now to Amazon Prime? I think it's
not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay.
It was, but when I went on there, right now, just buy or renting it. But it was you're right. It was at one point. I even brought that up when I first brought up in my video about the DCU moving to Netflix. But no, at this point, Netflix could get the real version. I'm thinking it's kind of what you said, ZodWriter, about the DCEU and Snyderverse being separate IPs. Netflix got the rights to the DCEU, not the Snyderverse. That's why we got Man of Steel being part of both. They were able to get, but that's why we have the DCU version of BVS, which
right.
It's funny.
They gotta get the Snyderverse. They gotta get the real movies.
And it's funny because I love the theatrical version of BVS until I saw the Ultimate Edition, and when Sky hosted that watch party for BVS theatrical version, I watched it just because I wanted to support Zack Snyder on Netflix, but I have to be honest, this is the first time I've seen it since that version, since seeing it in theaters. It was painful. Like, I'm like, where's this scene? Where's that scene? Where's that scene? And the thing is, at first I thought both like the Ultimate Edition and the theatrical version could be canon because it's just extended scenes. No. You know that scene, there's one scene that's actually different now when Clark's making eggs shirtless. You know that scene? There's two different news recordings that play. In the theatrical version, it's just a abbreviated news version of the Bat branding controversy so they could stir up that. with Clark, since they don't show the later scenes. But then whereas in the Ultimate Edition, you actually see that one lady complaining about Superman, about how her family too had dreams. So it's literally a different continuity, those two versions. I mean, one
Yeah, it
scene,
is.
but
Again, DCEU continuity, Snyderverse continuity, two distinct timelines.
and look who we have in the chat, right on time.
Integrity. What's up?
ZSJL might. I mean, hey, it's Zack Snyder himself saying it. So, hey, Zack Snyder, do you know anything about BVS Ultimate Edition? Let us know. And which version of ZSJL? If let us know what you're. Let us know, Sin Havoc.
Which version?
So, I'm
the
just saying.
Emerald Cut would have a lot more in it than just the Green Lantern scene, because remember there were all those Joker scenes that were shot that were not used in the version we got. So
I just hope that the Emerald Cut, that scene includes both Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter, because I don't also want anything to be taken away from Harry Lennox, or is it Harry or Henry?
Yeah, Harry.
Harry Lennox either, because I think he did a good job, and if got both of them, that'd be a good way to.
That'd be awesome.
I mean, I have a bit of a hot take, but if they didn't show the Emerald Cut, but Zack found a way to incorporate the Green Lantern scene in ZSJL2, how would you feel about that?
I think it would be hard because the Green Lantern scene was literally shot for that scene at the end with Bruce Wayne.
Different times of the day, though. One Martian Manhunter was in the morning, one at night. All you need to do
I think the scene would probably have to be repurposed, and there probably have to be some aspects of it would probably have to be reshot if they were gonna put it in the next movie.
I mean, the only thing I could think of too is maybe Ben Affleck. They just add one scene where Ben Affleck's like, "Oh, not again," something like that. But and again, just a thought that came in my mind. But yeah, I would still love to see that scene regardless. And Netflix is in on Zack. They're embracing Martha, and I think with Netflix we will see that scene. And as Zack Snyder just said, let me pull up Zack Snyder's comment again. Anytime between March and April, because
those dates,
here's the thing.
Those months are really nice.
Because I think that's actually really smart, because a lot of people are saying after Rebel Moon Part 2. I'm like, no, you want to do it before Rebel Moon Part 2, because that's a good way to hype up Rebel Moon. It's why I love the Cell movement, because we're hyping up Rebel Moon in the Cell movement. We're hyping up Zack's current projects, but we already saw BVS Ultimate Edition. What do you mean the Riddler's in BVS Ultimate Edition? We saw BVS Ultimate Edition. We didn't see the Emerald Cut, but my God,
the Riddler is part of the Injustice League and the storyboards that I saw in Dallas at the AT&T Discovery District. So we did see that question mark on the wall in the climactic battle. There was an Easter egg too. So I don't know.
Is that what you're talking about, Zack? Or Sin Havoc? And so, yeah, but overall, this is a really good sign. It seems like a small detail, but it's really not. And now we're going to go to the last topic, but I think this will be our biggest topic yet. So this is related to today, and, we don't need to go mention anyone directly, but we can mention Sky and Leon, because we're not saying anything negative about them. But apparently, SellSnyderVerseToNetflix has gone toxic. It's this toxic movement that's excluding people now, which, I have a feeling someone's going to clip this segment and take my obviously sarcastic tone and go, see, even Batman says it now. I just know that's going to happen.
Hey, I just got one question. Okay, what the hell's wrong with being a little toxic? This is the thing. Where it used to be, a lot of people. I've noticed today that people are not very thick-skinned anymore.
Yeah,
literally anything and everything has potential to offend, No matter what you say, no matter how kind you got to walk on eggshells around people. I say the hell with that. Just say what's on your mind, say how you feel. And if you get canceled, here's the thing. Social media is not a real place, so it doesn't really matter. To me, I'm so sick of that. Everything is toxic to these people because they haven't lived any life. They don't have any life experience. So they think everything is toxic. If we were to show these people, some of these people, what real toxicity is, I don't think they could actually handle it. I mean, give me a break.
I mean, here's
they're literally talking about a hashtag here. A movement on social media where people are literally behind their keyboards campaigning for more of what they love. What is toxic about that?
We're toxic because we're getting results, y'all. They know.
Exactly.
Hollywood knows that we control what happens. We pay the tickets to the movies. We pay for the streaming services. We are the majority. They are nothing. They may think they control, but ultimately we do. And we got something that was never, ever supposed to see the light of day. We got that made. And they hate that. They hate that. We control that. We hashtag release the Snyder Cut. We did. All of us. And they hate that. It's really interesting how like Skywalker Skywalker and Leon at the Rebel Moon premiere got they met up with Brett Colbert, the commander of the Dreadnought, right? And they had a little joke where he was like, "Oh, you guys," apparently Brett didn't use the word toxic, but when Sky talked about it later on, he's like, "Oh, you thought we were toxic," So the industry knows because that's the easy go-to. "Oh, you guys are toxic." No, we are passionate. We have huge hearts. That's why the Martha scene really hit us the way it did, right? And if you literally poke the bear's going to come back with a vengeance, right? So don't try to trigger us. Don't try to make clickbait articles. Don't try to come at us because you're going to get the wrath, and Hollywood can't handle that. So it's easy to just label us as toxic. I say passionate, but that's just me.
I agree. I agree with you 100%, Austin. Very passionate. And here's the thing. I have the same. Respect me, and I will respect you. Don't respect me, and I won't respect you. But if we're not talking about you, we're not mentioning you, we're not referencing you, don't come out and complain about any one of us. Because here's the thing. Sky and Leon did a great job with this campaign. They created this campaign. They spearheaded this campaign. They came up with the idea. And anyone who tries to defect and then tries to ask for credit when you literally defected and nullified all your credit by turning on people who were supposedly your friends. No, you don't deserve credit because you undid all that credit.
This person undid that credit. It's a what's the word? Hyperamus? I would say it's a hyperamus kind of a thing where at the time, okay, the cell movement was working for this person. This person was getting attention. This person was getting clout. This person was getting what was needed. It was getting the fix, right? And then somebody with I would say, let's just say, for lack of a better way to describe it, a bigger following came to this person, started promoting this person, started mentioning this person on YouTube videos and social media, retweeting and all this other stuff. And this person hyperamously gravitated towards this person because she saw that more clout could be gained by latching on to this. This is what these types of people do. They're clout hungry. They're hungry for fame. They're hungry they want to be popular. They want to be loved. They want to be, well known. So they just and it's just kind of like it's almost like a succubus. They just keep latching on to bigger and bigger fish until they're full, until they finally have their full, until they finally reach what they consider to be the top of the heap. And that's why that happens. People like this have no loyalty. They don't have friends. Nobody is really their friend. Nobody is really loyal. Nobody is really, locusts is a good word, but nobody is really their friend. Nobody is really, it's all just a means to an end. And it's unfortunate to see that there are people like this, but that's just what it is. Because if you have any loyalty, if you really value people, if you really call any of these people your friends, you wouldn't do that, because you are going to value them. And you're going to sink or swim with the direction that your friends are going in if you believe in the same thing. You're not going to be a parasite, like Osa Fresh is saying here. You're not going to be like that. You're going to stay the course. And here's the thing. It's not even that. I would say all of us, we all believe in the movement. It's not just because our friends came up with it. It's because we believe in it, and we know that it's a proven method of success. It's working. It's getting things done. Okay. We know this, and they know it too.
Yeah, they know.
And that's the reason why things are the way they are, because they know it too. And they want that clout. They want to be part of it. They want to get in on it. But they want credit, and they want to, be parasites again and leech off of it, which is not something that is going to be allowed. I mean, there were some wonderful, wonderful analogies given today, and I swear it just was nice to see it being put out there in that way. It really was. It was nice to hear, these realistic, adult analogies to what is actually going on with these people. And I don't know what it is about social media, but when it comes to social media and people dealing with us with regards to the Cell movement, particularly haters, these are some of the dumbest people I've ever seen in my whole life. I've never seen anything. I didn't even realize it was possible for people to be this dumb. I swear, I'm like, oh my God, it actually makes me scared for the future that this many dumb people exist. It really does, because it's like, I don't know. So that's the problem with social media and giving everybody a voice.
Yeah.
This includes people that are so dumb, they probably shouldn't even have access to a keyboard, let alone a social media account. But I digress.
I mean, I agree with you, ZodWriter. I 100% agree with you. Is that unfortunately social media has given everyone a platform, so a lot of the people who normally would get silenced are speaking out right now. And this is my thing with anyone who feels like they got kicked out or they got exiled. No, what happened? Here's the thing, and I think it's a lot of well-intentioned people who are speaking out, not fully aware of the situation. And I'm hoping that they'll actually look into the situation more. But here's the thing, people are treated equally. Anyone who feels like they're not, or that they were kicked out or excommunicated, or maybe none of that happened, they just chose to leave and it happened because of them, because of their bad choices that they themselves independently made. They chose to turn on their friends. They chose to go with someone because they thought they would get bigger clout. They chose to sell out people. They chose to do that. And they did that. They chose to halt any progress that they helped contribute. They chose to do that. That was their choice, and now they're living the consequence of their choice. That is the reality of what has happened here. And I just want to say this right now. I normally don't like to get into this stuff on my channel because I like my channel to be a place of positivity. I like my channel to be a place for everyone to like. But and I said this on Sky Stream earlier today, but here's the thing. You guys, Still Nation, are a group of friends that I care about very much. When Mikey Sutton died, that was hard on me. That was hard on all of us because of the community that we are. But we all support each other. We all care about each other. So when anyone ever goes after anyone in Still Nation, and in the Mikeyverse, and I'll even say the battalion too, the Bat Channel's own network, because they're also my friends. Anyone, if you go after any of these people, you have a problem with me. And I will stand up for my friends. And yeah, good Austin. Thank you. Yeah, but that's what it is. Because you don't see me like this very often on this channel. You very rarely see me like this on this channel. Because I hate trauma. Real life is hard enough as it is. And the reality is, we didn't talk about anyone until they started bad-mouthing us. Until they bad-mouthed our friends. And yes, shout out to Trey and Corey. Those guys, I met them in person. Some of the best people I've met. And yeah. And I agree with Integrity. Drama is the last thing that we need right now. And I want to clarify, this is not going to be a regular thing on this channel. But because of everything that went on today, it's not midnight yet, so we can still say today. Anything that went on today, I wanted to address this because I think it's important, because I think there's a lot of people who, thank you, good Austin, who I think just have the wrong idea. I think there's a lot of people who are trying to call the Cell movement toxic, thinking that we're leaving out people. No, that's not what's happening right now. What's happening is someone turned their back on us, and now they want credit when it's doing well. It's like, if I'm going to come up with my own analogy. It's like, if let's say you start a company with 3 people, you leave your own company and try to start your own company, but on the way out, you basically tarnish your other company, the company that you're leaving. But when that company starts to become successful and you want back in, you're like, "But I contributed to this." But no, your actions afterwards costed any contribution you made. Like, if you help the company make $100,000, but then you cost the company $200,000, your contribution doesn't mean shit then. And yes, the thing is, maybe they wanted to use your platform, but they also treated you as a friend. They also treated you as a friend. That's the difference right now. They just,
like Austin's saying, you got to get it off, Bat Dan, and get it out. And I don't, I talked to a shout out to you, Bat Dan, and to you, Zod, for both going on the space, because what happened earlier today was that fingers were being pointed from my perspective, right? I've come on to this platform. I came out to Still Nation, and real talk, I told y'all, like, I watch everybody. I'm a Snyder fan, right? So I watch everybody, people that are at the cool table and people who aren't at the cool table, right? And after full circle, as I said in my segment with Sky and Leon on the space, is that it was really weird to me how people were trying to say things that were not true, as somebody who was a bystander and saw everything that was happening. Like, people were lying about Sky and Leon, and I didn't like that. Like, let's look at the big picture here. As I've said, what are we fighting for? We're fighting for a cast of the Justice League. Let's break that down. Justice League. Okay? So we all agree with the ideologies of that team, right? So when I started to hear lies about 2 individuals, in my opinion, the slandering and the attempted cancellation of these people, that was an injustice, in my opinion, and a dogpiling. And I somebody, Zod, who got dogpiled on the Flash movie, right? And it was just weird energy to me. I was like, this is from certain people who had me blocked, who then unblocked me and started quote tweeting And then, oh, look at this guy. See how toxic it is? And I'm just like, this is really weird. So anyways, as after Full Circle, as time went on, people who weren't at the cool table, Syndicate Network, Seal Nation, basically started to exhibit weird energy and weird vibes. And then I start thinking of what has happened recently this week. And it's interesting that next month we have a huge trending event, right? There's a huge significant date happening. So why is all this controversy happening now? So it's just interesting, right? But at the end of the day, I think we all agree, look, we all want the same thing. If you're trying to split hairs and really be, well, I did this and I did this and I did, it's just, look at the big picture. Does all that really matter? If that is really what matters to you, right? I don't know if you're in this for the right reasons, right? So what I see is that this movement in particular of brave 300 Spartan-like energy. You guys are the Spartans. We are the Spartans, right? And we are standing and holding the line right now. And people see that it's working. And now people are starting to, instead of going to the people who you have an issue with, right, are going onto their space where they have a platform where you can say your piece and say what you need to say and work it out like adults. Instead of being like adults or being like Zack Snyder, what we talked about earlier in this stream, you're exhibiting stuff that's actually more WB-like in the toxicity, in my opinion, Zod. Like all that backstabbing and shadiness and all that, like that's WB type energy, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not really Zack Snyder energy.
No.
So I understand, like, I want to get along with everyone. I don't point fingers at people, and I'm not going to call anybody because I don't feel like I know enough, right? All I know is what I see, and I come from a behavioral psychology, sociological background. And if you're saying this is the issue, but then you're doing things in a public platform to call people out, well, I need this person. Thanks for helping me. This person. Thanks for helping me. This. It's just really weird, and it gets real cliquey. And then they call us a cult. Then there's weird stuff happening. At the end of the day, look, we just want this thing to be continued. Mm-hmm. These people have found a way to think outside the box, like Zack, and it's got corporations talking its history. Okay, if you left and you don't want to be a part of it, that's cool. Then don't say anything. But to literally at a time when we're about to be an important day on 2/14 and to start all this, it's just really weird energy. Let's not do that, okay? Let's continue to follow the rules of engagement that have been working, that have got us all this amazing art from a filmmaker who we love. Because all this pettiness, none of us have time for it, Zod. Like you were talking about, this is USA, the land of the free. Freedom of speech. We have that. It's a luxury we have. So anybody can do that. Not everybody should, but everyone can. In a place, in a platform like Twitter X. So what Good Austin says is right. There's no division here. We all have different opinions. We have different backgrounds. We are very diverse. Y'all talked about some of that on your late night Q&A with Bat Dan and Socks, Zod, right? And I just felt so, my heart was so full hearing y'all, talk about how you don't care about certain things. You care about the person and what they do, who they are,
Exactly. That's all that should ever really matter to anyone, really, when you think about it. And what does this kind of stuff say about the content of the character of the people that are doing this for whatever these reasons are? These reasons are not legitimate reasons, and it's just disheartening to see. But ultimately, I agree with Good Austin. I mean, the Cell movement is stronger than ever because of things like this. When this kind of stuff happens, it just brings us closer because we all see, what we're dealing with. We see the types of people that are just coming out of the woodwork and trying to do their thing. Like, there was there was McDonald's, trying to change the hashtags, and adding
spelling license,
adding Happy Meals to the hashtag, and all kinds of things that were completely unnecessary to try and provide the 2 cents with those French fries about what would be good for the movement. The movement doesn't need help from outsiders like that who were not involved, who just want to clout chase and want to come in and try to change things around. The Cell movement is doing just fine, and it's going to continue to thrive and do just fine without all of this background noise. So to me, it's all just the hashtag and the movement has not gone toxic. The toxicity is around us, and the best way that we can continue to thrive is to just continue to rise above it all.
And to quote a character in a movie that recently came out that really stood out to me, the reason why I love the line that Kai says is because after Full Circle, I knew in that day, never set foot on the wrong side of history. And here we are, baby. We're doing it, y'all. We're doing it.
Well said, Josh. Well, and ZodWriter. I love both of what we said, and you're right. The Cell community is stronger. Still Nation is stronger than ever because the thing is, we're friends. We're all friends who care about each other, and we all stand. And the fact that something like this didn't divide us, but just brought us closer together, shows what a great community we are. And I do want to make this clear, by the way. We are always welcome to new people coming in to join the movement. The movement happens with growth. What we're not cool with is coming in at one, acting like you've been here since the beginning, and 2, trying to change everything up and try to make it your own thing when it's not. But we love that is different than just coming in saying, hey, I'm kind of new to this. What do I need to do? Great. So at the end of the day, no, this movement has not gone toxic. Anyone who feels like they're not welcome, it happened because they made bad choices. They betrayed their friends. And I'm just going to say this right now. Good Austin got into an argument with someone. I'm just going to say this to the person arguing with Good Austin. Do a little bit more research. That's all I'm going to say. Because
I want to piggyback off of what you're saying here, Bat Dan. That's part of the problem, right? Mm-hmm. These people will jump off the cuff and they'll go at us without doing their research, without realizing all of it, without seeing the whole picture. So because someone is out there claiming one thing and saying one thing, it was amazing to see. You see all these people, retweeting and following this person and saying, supporting this person, and not looking at the entire picture. You don't know the whole story. You shouldn't comment on it. You shouldn't say anything. You're only seeing one side. You're only seeing what that side wants you to see. The old adage is that there's 2 sides to every story, and then there's the truth. And the truth is usually somewhere in the middle between both sides. But ultimately, if you don't know the story, now you're speaking from a position of ignorance. And for me, that's just completely unacceptable. But you see how that works. It's a dog piling effect. And you see, and it's just, and some of the people that I was seeing, it was really surprising me. I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. This is actually this is on another level of, just blind, support for someone that you don't know the half of it. And I was to the point where I was thinking, man, I was thinking, man, maybe because there's a couple people that I know that I think are just misconstruing things and not understanding. So right. in my typical ZodWriter fashion, I want to like be like, okay, well, I'm going to reach out to this person and talk to this person and try to set this person straight, because this person isn't seeing
Right.
the big picture and is not seeing the way things really are. But then I thought about it and I'm like, you know what? Every time I do that, it comes back and bites me in the butt. So I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm not going to say anything to any of those people. And I'm just going to carry on doing what I do and doing my part. And that's all any of us should do. None of us should really be, you know, entrenched in anything these people have to say, because nothing that they say matters, because they're not going to stop anything. They don't have control over anything. And that's what bothers them more than anything. They want to be in control, and they are not. The Cell movement is basically running the table right now.
Yep.
Exactly. And just to clarify, argument, which is lack for a better word, but you're right, good Austin. You're just clarifying, and that's good. And that's exactly right, ZodWriter. Cell is running it, because here's the thing: most of the people today, most of the people against Cell were the ones calling to boycott WB. I'm like, so you want to boycott WB, but you don't want to do the one hashtag that gets the Snyderverse without having to directly support WB. Doesn't really add up. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, boycott WB, but then continue hashtagging restore the Snyderverse. That makes a whole lot of sense. When in reality, restore the Snyderverse, and it's been pointed out numerous times, and I've said it numerous times, that hashtag was literally muted by WB a long time ago, and that's why it failed. They just muted the hashtag, made it completely irrelevant, and you know, that's why it didn't move the needle. It got what it got, and then it was time to evolve. And Cell was the natural progression, the natural evolution from the Restore the Snyderverse hashtag. And now these people think somehow that bringing Restore back is going to, I don't know, make it relevant again, make them relevant again. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
I
pointless.
think so. I think they're stuck to the past, honestly. Restore had its time, but it's over. And I just want to say to anyone watching, maybe people that we've been indirectly speaking about, I don't have any ill wishes for you. All I want, really, just focus on your own thing. That's it. Just do your own thing. Focus on, if you feel Restore's the best, then just do Restore. But don't try to come in, act like you've been with Cell all along, act like you didn't, and act like you're all of a sudden cool with everyone, because trust and forgiveness are different things. And the reality is, if you want to apologize, you can't wait, for one, until the movement starts succeeding. I'll put it like that. But also, you have to earn your trust back and show that you are a friend. And if you don't do that, just focus on your thing. Focus. We'll do our thing. Simple as that. I have no interest in wars, but the only thing I have interest in is standing up for my friends, Leon and Skywalker the Jedi, because those two are the real ones. They brought hope for DC when I was upset that DC was in a tarnished brand, that we weren't going to get the story, the conclusion to the story we loved. Sky and Leon did that. They gave me that hope. So don't go after them. Not for a minute, not for a second. Batman's thoughts, this channel will not tolerate it. And Josh, I had a feeling you were going to say something. What did you want to say?
No, I just all I'm gonna say is, like, all throughout my life, I've kind of been through situations where you gotta, you have two friends and then, like, they're dating and you break up, and then it's like, oh, you gotta pick I'll use my own self. Y'all guys know, I think Bat Dan, that I was in a long-term 8-year relationship but prior to discovering Soul Nation. And that person was essentially my best friend. I talked about comic book movies and everything. And when that person and me ended in 2020, it was depressing, right? I literally love talking about this stuff with people. And ultimately, I found you guys because of that. And this person went on to kind of start slandering and lying about me and the circumstances about what happened, because we had a mutual friend group, right? And I was basically, my name was being drugged and lies were being told about me. and it started to depress me, right? Luckily, for me, I'm smart enough to know to have the receipts. If somebody's gonna like say something and you know, okay, that's fine. And I never had to like go and try to prove anything, because at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know, right, Zod? Like you were saying, like it's interesting how these people want to talk about something, but you don't know what you don't know, right? And said this in the space. I don't know. I can't speak about specific people and what they've done, and right. But my situation and this person who I had an 8-year relationship who started to slander my name, I have receipts, and I have a whole ton of them. So that's all I'm saying. And from what I heard on Sky Space, he thinks and acts similar to me. And some of the people who've interacted with people who have exhibited weird behavior, maybe there's receipts out there. So before you jump to someone's defense without knowing everything, you might want to step back and realize that this community is full of adults who are passionate, but who also are logical and down to earth. And that's why this movement has been so successful, is because the ROEs work, the rules of engagements work. So why don't, if you really want to get this art made and you're really rocking with Zack and you know he's on Netflix, why don't you start by using the 2 hashtags and following the rules of engagement? That's all I want to say.
That's the thing I don't get. You know, on paper, every single person that is in support of Zack should be in support of the Cell movement because of what it does. It promotes more of Zack's work and facilitates a way for all of it to continue in a very positive way. I don't understand, you know, and that's the whole thing. I'm like, in theory, you would think that it would be a slam dunk, but again, it's all about egos, clout, and people, you know, wanting to have their piece. And it really means that those people, like you guys have been saying, it just means that those people really are not in it for the right reasons. I think it's clear that if you're in it for the wrong reasons, well, this is why you're doing what you're doing. So, yeah.
Exactly. They're in it for clout. They're in it for I don't know what. And and the thing is, like, here's what I like about Cell compared to Restore. Cell promoted Zack's project on Netflix at the time, Rebel Moon. Restore did not as much. Like, I feel like I feel like this. I feel like, in my opinion, Restore did. Army didn't do well. Make no mistake, but it's still said it didn't do as well as Rebel Moon, and I think partly that's due to because with Cell, we're hyping up Zack on Netflix, so we want to hype up Zack on Netflix. Whereas Restore, and again, just my opinion, FYI, I feel like because the focus was Zack being at WB, people weren't necessarily as keen to support his Netflix projects there. So I feel
and notice how the Cell movement was getting criticized for not promoting. You remember how Cell was getting criticized for not promoting Rebel Moon enough, when in reality we were constantly talking about Rebel Moon, and these people were just throwing shade for no reason and straight up making stuff up, because we were always talking about Rebel Moon.
Yeah. I have my first 3 episodes of Space-tastic Discussions, which is technically a Star Wars show, were about Rebel Moon. All 3 of those first episodes were about Rebel Moon. I have done so much Rebel Moon coverage on this channel. Josh, both you and I, we went out of our way to see Rebel Moon early in theaters, and it was a huge effort for me to get there because this was in Chicago, and I live in the suburbs, and I refused to drive in the city. So I had to take public transportation all the way down there. I took a half day off work, and then getting back, I had to take public transportation. And at night, it's harder because a lot of stuff is closed. I even had to, the last leg from basically, there's a train station that's also a bus station that I take to get once I get back and from the suburbs, I take the train to the bus station and the bus directly to my apartment. The bus station was closed, or my line was closed, so I had to take a lift back home. And the idea is, and basically, I had to make a huge effort to get home and to go to Rebel Moon. I put that much of an effort into it just to see Rebel Moon. That is how big I am dedicated to Zack Snyder's non-DC projects.
Yeah, and that's why shout out to you, Bat Dan. I think when you talked about getting passes, I knew that it was going to be a big deal for you to, get off work and then go. I know you don't, Yeah, it paid off, right? Because you got Jimmy boy. You got Jimmy. You won that at the screening, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So shout out to you, Bat Dan, for literally, this was winter. So this is harsh Chicago, winter, and you made it happen. And there were barriers, but you kept on rebelling, baby. So shout out to you for seeing Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon theatrically, because it was a treat, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I gotta give, I gotta give a quick shout out to all the weeds in the chat. I really gotta shout them out because they are really coming out in full force tonight,
yeah.
Dan.
Is that Saffron? Is that Saffron? Because he's all for sale.
Oh yeah, Saffron. That's a good point, Josh. Saffron isn't it for sale? And again, exactly, it was a huge journey, and you know what? We're a passionate community, and you know what? I thank the trolls. I thank the weeds, because you know what they do? They give videos more engagement. So you know what?
Engagement.
At the end of at the end of the day, I don't want to go after anyone, and nor, obviously we did reference someone. We didn't, even though we didn't know their name, we did reference someone. I'm going to say this right now. I do not want anyone going after this person. I am just giving advice. I'm just telling our side of the story about what happened, and even advising that this person just do their own thing. That's it. Because that's how we operate. Is that we want the best. We don't want any ill will towards anyone. We're just passionate fans wanting to see a project we care about. But when you feel to come into our chat, I guess we're just interesting enough to you that you feel the need to come into our chat. I don't jump into all these CW Arrowverse chats and talk shit. I don't go into these anti-restore streams. I just don't watch it.
When's the last time you went into a James Gunn stream to try and start stuff with James Gunn fans? Have you ever done that? Because I know I never have.
Nope.
I've never. I do not understand the fascination that people have with coming into people's chats and people's threads on social media and just berating them and attacking them for their views and their passions. I don't understand. I mean, you should really have better things to do, in all honesty. If you don't have better things to do, it says more about your life than it does about the people that you're accusing of being in a cult. I'm just saying that. It's
beta
crazy.
behavior.
It's crazy to me. It's definitely beta behavior. Absolutely.
Exactly. It is. And at the end of the day, I'm happy. I'm proud of this community. I love this community. I love Cell. I have so many great friends here. The answer is no. We have not gone toxic, and Cell is the right move. This will get us to the Snyderverse, to the home where Zack Snyder can be where he's loved and appreciated, and we can get the proper conclusion to the story we love. And even the Snyder only fans who don't necessarily want to support this campaign, because as I already said, ZSJL is its own IP. Zack Snyder's trilogy is its own IP. So this version, Restore, they might have to mix in the DCEU, but this version does not need to mix in the DCU. You get pure Snyder. So this is the right move. I'm proud of this community. You guys are my friends. And I love you all. I do.
We love you, Bat Dan.
Same,
Shout out
Bat
to you.
Dan.
Bat Dan is the MVP.
That's right.
this movement, christened by Skywalker the Jedi. So your
Um,
words, Bat Dan, were really. I remember where I was. I was getting out of my car, going to the gym, listening to you, and I just was. My heart was full because what I have this conversation. We're not trying to start drama. I don't think we're just literally people started to quote tweet and tried to start controversy, right? And all you're doing, Bat Dan, is passionately setting the record straight from your perspective, right? Like we talked about, there's two sides to every story, and there's the truth, right? But we've been rocking out with these people. Why? Because they're loyal and they act like Zack Snyder. Like you said, we go in line with people who are like Zack. Okay, Zack, he really expects loyalty and he expects integrity 101. Oh yeah, you're there. He expects integrity, love, and I'm picturing right now I'm picturing the scene where Steppenwolf's getting jostled around by Superman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman. They're all teaming up, the heads coming off, because we saw what was happening. People were trying to start controversy, and we all kind of came and just said our piece. We're not starting drama, we're not being toxic, we're just calling it how it is. And we're Justice League. But shout out to you, Bat Dan, for giving us a platform to really come and share our passions, because that's all we're doing. We're sharing passion and love and art. And we love you, Bat Dan.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I take that with pride, but will not let the MVP go to my head. I'm loyal to you guys, to Still Nation. I don't chase clout. I chase friendships and I chase results. So that's where I stand. And I guess ZodWriter, I guess any final thoughts on this?
No. I mean, everything is pretty much been laid out tonight. I mean, once again, shout out to the Weeds. Thanks for the engagement. It's there. Yeah. Shout out. Oh God, the engagement is real. So, hey, keep asking the same questions. And when Cell happens, and it will happen, and when it does, it's going to be amazing to see how people cope with it. That's what I want to see.
Oh yeah, I agree. They'll move the goalposts probably. And Nightwing, if that's the case, I'm gonna be drinking a lot of beer. If I'm
Drunk Bat Dan, happy birthday.
Bat Dan's thoughts promotes drinking responsibly and no underage drinking whatsoever, just to clarify. But you're right, ZodWriter. But at the end of the day, we'll just be happy that we helped spearhead something. And the credit will go to Sky and Leon at the end of the day. A lot of us contributed. All of us contributed. I mean, look at us. We're talking Cell right now. We're spreading awareness of the movement. We're setting the record straight to hopefully to whoever's watching. And I think there's a lot of great stuff happening with Cell. There was technically yesterday for us, because we're in Central Time Zone and it's past midnight. So technically yesterday there was a lot of drama, but at the end of the day, we're going to move past it. We're going to move forward, and we're going to embrace Cell for the great movement that it is. And I guess coming up, Josh, what do you have coming up on your channel?
Well, on my channel, no. Shout out to Skywalker the Jedi's channel. We are about to have cartoons and cereal in a few hours, so I get to bed and get ready to watch Ultraman on Netflix. Because why? We are engaging with Netflix, thinking outside the box. Look, there is, at the end of the day, I think we can all agree. Look, we don't want the drama. We just want people to be, logical and look at the facts. Zack's on Netflix. They hear us. We have a corporation talking to us. This is working, and they're treating the filmmaker that we love right on Netflix. So 214 is coming up. I know what I'm going to be hashtagging and what I'm going to do. Anybody is welcome to do whatever they want. But if you're really trying to get this art and you're trying to be effective, you might want to, do your research before 214, February 14th, because there's going to be two hashtags that really matter if you want to get more of Zack Snyder's art. And that is hashtag SellSnyderVerseToNetflix, to Netflix, hashtag SellSnyderVerseToNetflix. Let's go, baby! Rebellion.
And good luck to you, Josh, by the way. Good luck with everything. Hopefully you get your Facebook back, and hopefully your surgery goes well.
Thanks.
And I guess you're going to be on someone else's channel, right?
Oh
Coming
yes,
up,
I will be. Yeah, I will be on. I think I'm going to be on the Bat Channel's show tomorrow. They're having a Monarch Monstar stream, so yeah, check me out there. If you're.
And at the end of the month, whose channel are you going to be on?
I will have it scheduled tentatively. He knows we were going to try to schedule it really close to my surgery, and I explained. But I will be making my debut on ZodWriters. I believe it's a late night Q&A.
Late night Q&A at the end of
right.
February. So that'll be good. I got a lot of late night Q&As coming up. I especially have a new episode of I Don't Get It coming up on February 10th with A-Pass, of course. And, Bat Dan, we're definitely looking forward to that. So, yeah, lots of great stuff coming up. So stay tuned.
Can't wait. And I guess for me, coming up on my channel is I'm going to try to get a review of Beekeeper in because I saw that last weekend, and I thought since David Ayer supported Cell, I wanted to do something for him and support his current movie because that's what I like to do. If I'm going to campaign for a director's movies, I'm going to support the movies they have coming out, including Beekeeper. So be on the lookout for that. And actually, the night before I Don't Get It, I think, I'm going to have the other member of I Don't Get It on my channel for Bat Dan's interviews, A-Pass, February 9th. So be on the lookout for that. And I'm actually also, we don't have this next Saturday yet. It's next Saturday. I'm going to be on Taladia's stream. We're going to be talking some gaming stuff. I don't know what exactly, but I'm excited to do it, to talk gaming and to collab with Taladia because I don't collab with him that much and I really like him. So be on the lookout for that. And guys, if you like this, hold on, let me get out of the way. Okay, good. If you like this video, guys, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more unique takes and interesting thoughts and great discussions such as these. And as the Nightwing says, oh, you're getting an MRI. Oh, that's no fun. But still, good luck. Good luck to you, Nightwing. I hope it goes well.
Good luck, Nightwing.
And as Integrity says, ZSJL2 is inevitable. So if you like this video, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more unique takes and interesting thoughts and great discussions such as these. And lastly, have a bat-tastic day.